This is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
Five-ish Fangirls, I love you, and I'm one of the five-ish. In fact, I'm the biggest one of the five-ish. I am the Sixth Doctor Colin Baker, and I wish you all well. Have fun.
And we continue all the way to episode number 23 podcast. And I don't know about you, but thank goodness for social media, because I can't remember about to talk about.
Social media is the new history book.
Yes. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week by going around the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Fort Pierce.
This is Christy in Salt Lake City.
And I am Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone. Once again, Holly is stuck in the sodding vortex, but she sends her love, and hopefully she will join us next week. We have a lot to get into this week. Lots of news and other fun stuff to discuss. So I hope you brought a snack and a drink, because this might be a long one. Fair warning. So let's start off with news.
First piece of news: Mark Hamill has been cast as the trickster on CW's The Flash.
Woo! Woo! And this is not the first DC villain he's portrayed, right?
Well, I
Actually,
think this is not
he was the voice of the Joker in the Batman animated series, I believe.
in some of the video games too, I think.
He played
But he's played the Trickster before on an
okay.
older version of the Flash, like the old
Yeah.
TV version, I think. So
which,
if I read that correctly,
right? Maybe not that one, but the Flash's father in this one. If I remember.
So old Flash is now new Flash's daddy?
something like that.
It's
It's all very.
Sorry, I
guess.
missed all this trivia.
Yeah,
so.
the article says that he will reprise his role of James Jesse, aka the Trickster.
That's
So-
so Mark's just getting in the habit of putting on old hats recently.
According to an
apparently.
official
Yeah.
description, Hamill's Trickster is an anarchist terrorist con man serving a life sentence in Iron Heights who helps Barry and Detective West follow the citywide attacks of a wannabe trickster, eagerly following the original's deadly footsteps.
Interesting.
So apparently he was active before the series or something, and now there's a copycat, and so he's helping catch the copycat or something. At least according to the official description.
Yeah.
Gotta love his costume from the 90s.
Yeah.
It was the 90s, which when
It
you're
was
in
the
the 90s, it looked normal, but now we're 20 years removed from that.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
it looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And having Mark reprise his role as the Trickster was on our original wish list when we were planning our version of The Flash. Executive Heisberg said, Christmas in Chanukah came early for us this year when he said yes. We are beyond humbled and excited to have him join us for another round of deadly trickery.
Awesome. And I do believe the Flash, everyone's having their winter finales right now, but Flash and Arrow, I believe, come back in January. So
Yes,
it won't be too much longer before we don't have to wait as long for those to come back. Thank goodness.
thank goodness, especially after how Arrow ended. I'm not gonna say anything.
That's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So yay.
Yay.
Mark Hamill. Awesome.
Get your Mark Hamill fix until Star Wars. Oh, anyway. In other news, we have some convention news for anyone that's attending Gallifrey 1 in February. Alex King's Professor Riversong,
You lucky sods who
Yeah.
get to go.
So I have a friend that met Alex and Arthur Darvill at New York City Comic-Con in the fall, and she said that both of them were just like the nicest people. She, of course, was like tongue-tied and dumbfounded and everything, but she said that they were, yay, Alex Kingston. So that makes, I'm sure that's making some people we know very happy. You know who you are, Mr. Oh, I'm done going to Galley. I'm not going to go next year. Oh, look, I accidentally bought tickets. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, look, my fingers slipped. I put in my credit card information.
Exactly. Speaking of which, not that my fingers quite slipped on the credit card payment yet, but if you've been listening to our Brother Forecast podcast,
Snow is in the forecast.
yes. Podcast, Traveling the Vortex, you know that they had mentioned weeks ago that there was a Kickstarter. Someone was trying to get a Doctor Who convention off the ground, and some stuff happened, and the Kickstarter got canceled, and then it got started again, but they changed the name. So it started out with one name, and now it's known as Time Eddy, but it's supposed to take place in Wichita next October, but they have announced already some guests. They're getting Daphne Ashbrook, Nicola Bryant, among other people, but they just announced this week that Colin Baker is going to be a guest at the convention. So, yeah, my finger may slip and hit pay purchase. We'll see,
We'll see.
Yeah, ooh, I'm really, really right now we have tentative plans to do other stuff in October, but if that falls through, this is plan B, so hold on to your hats, Mr. Baker, I may be coming.
Again. This will make, how many times will have met him if you go this time? 3?
Well, I met him 3 times at Chicago TARDIS, but it was all in the same convention, so.
Oh, okay.
So.
I thought you saw him somewhere else.
Nope.
Yeah. But yeah, I met him at Salt Lake Comic-Con, and I have to tell a story real quick.
Yes.
Last night I was at a little Christmas get-together one of my coworkers put on at her house, and we were just kind of discussing, our convention goings, and she and I, she's another Doctor Who fan, and she loves, British actors and period dramas and stuff like that. And we were just sort of geeking out over just general convention stuff, and I was like, yeah, and I totally plotzed over Paul McGann, and it was so awesome. So just kind of just doing our whole year in review sort of thing, and I mentioned to her because, but when we were kind of talking about this, I was like, but I met Colin Baker first, and he just totally put me at ease, even though I was like totally starstruck, and I was just like, 2 doctors, there are 2 doctors here, this is the greatest thing in the world, and I met Colin first because his line was shorter, and I just that's how I made my decision who to go to first, and he was just like, I mean, he's a fan just like the rest of us are. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those of you who are in the Wichita area and get to go to Time Eddy, I'm jealous, even though I've already met Colin.
Well, I met Colin at Fan Expo 2013, and then I saw him again at Galley in this past February.
I love him.
I feel really left out right now.
You know what? He's making the round, so he could very well be coming to your local something or other.
Yes. Keep your eyes peeled, Brittany.
Hey, if Colin, if you hear this, go to Miami in June.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway.
And if you need a place to stay, Brittany would be more than happy to find you a place
to be a pretty strong double act.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I saw Colin at Galley, Paul was there too.
Mm-hmm. That's what we had. Yeah. They were great.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that Nicola is going to be at Time Eddy, it's like him. It's a Doctor and Perry. So it's the two kind of go together. Yeah. It seems like if one's at a convention, the other's probably not too far behind in being announced. So, which Nicola is really nice too, and those two, even after all these years, you can tell that they are still friends and care about each other, deeply, and it's something that'll continue for the rest of their lives, and it's so adorable. And Paul and Daphne Ashbrook are like that too, even though Daphne lives in the States, it's just every time, I saw them at Chicago TARDIS last year, and you would have thought they had, saw each other every day. They're just adorable.
And they were at Galley, like they had tables like right next to each other.
There's something very, very special about a doctor and their companion, their relationship, and that definitely continues after they're no longer involved with the show. So
helps that they're doing Big Finish together too.
Well, yes, that too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, not Paul and Daphne, sadly, but
unfortunately not Daphne.
I wish Paul and Daphne. That would be great.
That would be.
The eternal fandom wish list, right alongside all the missing episodes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, give up the rights, let them have the rights to Grace Holloway.
You're not doing anything with that.
With Grace,
Exactly.
yeah, I know. It's just.
No kidding.
Anyway, but in other news related to Colin Baker, and this is so funny because Glenn went on this short tangent in this week's Traveling the Vortex about this, and I knew what he was getting to, and I don't think that Sean and Keith knew what he was talking about. I knew where he's going with this though, and I'm like nodding my head while listening to the podcast. But fandoms collide. There is a web series called Star Trek Continues that it's crowdfunded. They'd done a Kickstarter last year, and they got the funding plus extra of what they asked for. And it's a bunch of Star Trek fans that have wanted to continue the original series, because if in the opening, this is the Voyage of Star Trek Enterprise. It's 5-year mission, and if you're familiar with the original series, it got canceled after 3 years. So fans have been wanting to see those other 2 years of the Enterprise's initial supposed to be mission. So these fans got together, did this Kickstarter, got the funding needed, recreated the sets and the costumes.
I started watching
legit
the first episode, and it's like you could swear that it's the original.
Yeah.
Set.
So they've only done 3 episodes, and they're getting ready to have a 4th episode come out. But Colin Baker is going to be a guest on their 4th episode, which is totally awesome. So
I have the website on my computer. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah, it's just
I started the first episode, but I got distracted by something.
Yeah,
I think by my sister wanting to use my computer. But
it happens.
You get a new toy, everybody wants to play with it.
Yep.
Well, her laptop was
I'm surprised, Rachel, that you knew something about Star Trek that Sean and Keith did not know, or Sean at least.
Well, I think Sean knew about this series, but I don't think he knew that Colin was going to be on it. So
true.
Okay.
I will give him that.
Yeah,
one.
that just makes it more exciting. And I grew up on Star Trek. My dad, I can remember since I was a little kid. Granted, I remember more watching Next Gen when it was actually new.
Yeah. Same with my dad.
I was born during the 3rd season of Next Gen.
Yeah, and
same.
so I've been watching Star Trek since I was knee high to a tribble. So. And I haven't watched any of this, but it comes highly recommended from Glenn, so I will take his word for it. So go and watch it, and if you're a Doctor Who fan and a Colin Baker fan, even better. So no idea what kind of role Colin's going to play, if they're going to, I'm assuming Glenn was trying to make this headcanon in his head that somehow it would be some Doctor Who Star Trek crossover. I don't think so. But
when you said that, my first thought was
go headcanon accepted.
Yeah.
My first thought was the version of Colin's been on this whole I never filmed the regeneration, therefore all the doctors after me are imposters. I'm still the doctor.
Yes, which
So
I love
it's
him for
in
that.
It's in that timeline. He's still the doctor.
Yeah.
Well, and
In another timeline. And that timeline is going to intersect with Star Trek Continues, and that's the character he's going to play.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Well,
not,
and
but
a Doctor Who
You know
and
what?
Star Trek crossover has been done in comic book form. So
That's true.
You
with
know
the
what?
the
You know
11th
what?
Doctor Next Gen, so it's
You know
not
what?
out of the realm.
Make it your head canon.
Yeah,
Nobody can take that away from you.
exactly.
well, that is my headcanon. the
It works.
original events where Colin Baker is still the Doctor, and he somehow like ends up on the bridge of the Enterprise or whatever. And yeah.
Very
Either
good.
way,
I
I'll
like
take
it.
it.
All right. Speaking of Doctor Who news and a couple other things, we have a couple trailers. There's a TV trailer out for the Doctor Who Christmas special last Christmas, and I just gotta
Earworm.
say, every time one of the podcasts or I see it on thing, I start singing in my head.
You hear
"Last
George Michael
Christmas."
in your head, don't you?
Well, apparently, someone said that they read in an interview that it was that it might have been inspired by the song or something. It's like
Okay.
degree.
So the song holds a clue to the plot or something.
I don't know, but
Headcanon.
Yeah. Either that or Stephen Moffat is a Wham fan. I don't know.
There is a connection there somewhere.
So start playing the song and you'll figure out what the plot is.
Yeah.
And I have to say this about Last Christmas, or at least the promotional materials for it, because I've seen particularly American fans and that they're all like, why does he have an orange or it's a tangerine or something? And I have to say, like every Christmas when I was a kid, and I still do this, I always got an orange in my stocking because they're
Same
in
here.
season. They're always it's like, guys, go look. It's about the little girl. It's like this heartwarming story about little girl in the orphanage where the mean old orphanage manager guy catches her seeing the tree before everybody else, and so he says that she can't have any of the Christmas oranges, and then all the kids get together and let her have a piece of theirs because that's like their one treat a year. I mean, oranges are a Christmas thing. I promise. It's always been that way. So anyway, that was my sort of tangent on tangerines.
Or oranges.
I'm sorry.
Satsumas, depending on your proclivity.
Yep. So anyway,
Go watch the Christmas Invasion and.
Yeah, because the doctor had a Satsuma in his pocket.
Exactly.
He beat the
Sycorax with it.
Sycorax, like, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that. Beat him with a Satsuma. So anyway, and then we have another trailer. The theatrical trailer for Insurgent was released this week, and I gotta say, I don't remember much of this from the book, and I kind of am wondering if for some reason the movie filmmakers are counting on people not remembering anything from the book, or I have another theory, because Insurgent was not my favorite of the series of the book. It just kind of felt like it had no idea where it was going. So I'm wondering if they've improved a little bit on the story, which I'd be okay with. But yeah, I'm watching this trailer and I'm kind of like, I mean, it looks good. It looks like it's going to be a good movie. Don't get me wrong, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't remember that from the book. Okay, I remember that. Anyway, so I think the movie is going to be okay. I may just have to reread the book and see if I can remember any of this stuff. I know the box, when you watch the trailer, there's a box that everybody's going crazy about. And I remember something like that. It's like it pertains to the ending. I will not say why or how, just in case someone hasn't read the book. But yeah, there was something about this, and Janine Matthews is very much involved, so it's good to see that Kate Winslet's back in that role, because no, they didn't kill her, they just stabbed her in the hand. I am a little miffed about Ashley Judd still being there, because she's never been my favorite, but whatever. She's perfect. But other than that, yeah, Shailene Woodley and Theo James are back, of course, and yay! I love Thor and Triss.
I haven't seen
Fantastic. Anyway, so Insurgent is coming out in March. So go see it. And watch the trailer in the meantime.
It was one of you guys, but someone said 2015 is gonna be a really good year for movies.
That was me.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I'm like, yep, need to see that, need to see that, need to see that. There's gonna be some good stuff.
If anybody needs to purchase any of us last-minute Christmas gifts, gift cards to the closest theater chain that we live near.
Yes.
Not going this.
Gift cards.
Cinemark.
Yeah.
Por favor.
I'm an AMC gal myself, so.
I have a combination of AMC and Regal, right before Regal.
Landmark is a big one near me.
Just a hint, you know?
Just
We
saying.
got a lot of movies seeing to go to. There's still some movies that are coming up, like this year.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna get to see them, but I'm gonna go see them.
Yep.
Even if I have to wait for the dollars.
I just went to see Mockingjay Part 1 with my sister and her fiance on Friday, which we went to see, and there was a repeat of recorded that and watched it today. So I seen the first 2 episodes of that. It's really good.
Yay!
Enjoying it so far.
We figure out how to watch our stuff. So. Not enough hours in the day or enough money, but we figure it out. So.
We do it.
Speaking of which, and I think I mentioned this on the show last week just in passing, that awards season was upon us. And as soon as I say that, we get both the nominations for the SAG Awards and the Golden Globes, which if you're... The Golden Globes are considered by a lot of people the precursor to the Academy Award. The Golden Globes encompass both movies and television, but with the movie categories, usually they're a good indicator of how the Oscar nominations are going to go. And for the most part, everything... I have not really seen any of this stuff, but from what people are saying, it seems to be the movies and the actors and actresses that they're all referring to as being the top tiered. That this doesn't seem to be any different. The Screen Actor Guild, they're still prestigious, but they don't have quite the same, I guess, as the Gold Globes and the Oscars and the Emmys. If you're a TV person, obviously the Emmys are your thing, and if you're a movie person, it's the Oscars, the Academy Awards, or it. But those are still
and if you
exactly. But the SAG Awards are going to air in late January, and the Golden Globe January 25th, and they're going to be on TNT and TBS. And then the Golden Globes are actually going to be on January 11th, so those actually come before the SAG Awards, and those are going to be on NBC, I think, or ABC.
I think they switch off every year.
Yeah. Well, and then the Oscars are on the other. Like, one's on NBC and the Oscars are on the other. I just can't remember which at the moment. And I'm looking at the website, it doesn't say. So thanks for being real obvious on your website, Golden Globes. But a few notable nations, obviously, like the big movies that most people are talking about, like The Theory of Everything, which is the Stephen Hawking biopic, along with the Eddie Redmayne that plays Stephen Hawking, got nominations. Benedict Cumberbatch actually got nominated twice for the SAG Awards. He got nominated for male actor in a leading role for playing Alan Turing in The Imitation Game, which I am going to go see as soon as it opens up near me, because it's not open in any theaters near me. But he also did get nominated for male actor in a television movie or miniseries for Benedict getting double nods there. Most of the stuff, again, I haven't really seen. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, Peter Dinklage got nominated for Game of Thrones. Tatiana, I'm going to butcher her last name, for Orphan Black.
Solony?
Yes. She got nominated for Orphan, nominated for Downton Abbey, so if you're a Downton Abbey fan. Amy Poehler for Parks and Rec. What? Leslie
I just
Knope in
started
the
watching
house.
that on Hulu.
I love Parks and Rec. I'm so sad that it's almost over. They just final season. It starts airing in January, so I'm excited and sad at the same time.
I saw
I saw a picture. Well, like Chris Pratt put up a thing on his Twitter or Instagram or something, and some of the other cast members had pictures, and it was like, I just started watching that.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu Plus, and I'm like, I need something to watch.
It's on Netflix too, so I watch it. You will like Parks and Rec. I was not a huge fan of The Office. I actually like Parks and Rec more, but in the same vein. So it's so funny. The cast is just absolutely hilarious, and honestly, I think most of them are playing themselves with just different names. I'm pretty much sure that they are just themselves. As my brother likes to say, Ron Swanson is his spirit animal. So, and the Golden Globes, again, a lot of similar nominations. Once again, Benedict Cumberbatch gets nominated for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama for The Imitation Game. Several nominations for Into the Woods. Fan of that. That's getting ready to come out. You got your animated, which are, I've seen both of those, and I on demand on our cruise, like late at night, and I couldn't sleep until I was watching. I didn't get what I about, but yeah, Lego Movie, actually pretty good. So yeah, we'll obviously we'll put a link to so you can see the full nomination lists for both of those, and stay tuned to your television the award ceremonies as they occur. So.
So, next synopsis for the first 2 episodes of Agent Carter have been released. ABC has released the synopsis for the first 2 hours of Agent Carter, which are to premiere back-to-back on January 6th with reprising her Captain America the First Avenger lead role. The first hour, written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, is titled Now Is Not the End. It is also directed by Louis D'Esposito. Peggy is contacted by old acquaintance Howard Stark when he is framed for unleashing his deadliest weapons and can trust no one else. To help Peggy clear Stark's name, he insists his butler, Edwin Jarvis, be at her beck and call, whether she likes it or not. But the risk is great. If caught, Agent Carter could be targeted as a traitor and spend the rest. The second hour, written by Eric Pearson and directed by Joe Russo, is called Bridge and Tunnel. In the episode Bridge and Tunnel, Howard Stark's deadliest weapon has fallen into enemy hands, and only Agent Carter can recover it. But can she do it before her undercover mission is discovered by SSR Chief Dooley and Agent Thompson? Agent Carter premieres for 2 hours on January 6, 2015 at 8 p.m. on ABC.
Yay!
Yay!
Which is good, considering Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just went on hiatus, so...
The timing could not be better.
Yeah.
I saw a little sneak peek clip. I'm guessing it's from the first episode, and it's of Peggy, and she has a roommate. I can't remember the roommate. Just kind of about post World War II, the soldiers are coming back and they need their jobs back, and so the ladies who have been working in the factories and stuff they're losing their jobs because the soldiers, the GIs, are coming back, and they're just talking about post war life, and I'm like, for someone I eat that stuff up, so I'm just kind of like, this is gonna be good. Yeah. I mean, not just because it's Agent Carter and it's Marvel, but it's pretty historically accurate and within a comic book world, so I'm like, I'm excited for that, and just this looks so good, and yeah, like you said, Rachel, it's hiatus time, and so we need something to tide us over till everything else comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an
Yeah.
I'm this week has been brutal, and I'm so looking forward to it. Anyway, that's for another time. But anyway, Agent Carter, Peggy Carter, woo! Let's do this. I'm more than ready.
Yep. Well, right. Next up in news, there's a BBC theme park in the works. BBC Worldwide has announced plans to launch a €2 billion Kent-based theme park in Hollywood in 2020. The attractions are planned to include the broadcaster's most popular shows, including Doctor Who, Sherlock, and Top Gear. Stephen Davies, director of live events at BBC Worldwide, said, "We are always looking for opportunities to extend fans' enjoyment of their favorite shows, and the idea behind the resort is really exciting of celebrating the very special place BBC has in British culture." David Testa, director of London Resort Company Holdings, says, "We are delighted to bring the world's leading public service broadcaster on board this project. The BBC has played an instrumental role in shaping the British entertainment industry for nearly a century. Characters on TV and radio. It seems only right, therefore, that its programs will be present in the new London Paramount Entertainment Resort, which will combine the glamour of Hollywood with the best of British culture." Which, there's another reason for me to go jump on a plane and go across the pond.
Start saving our pennies. And we might just be able to go by 2020.
Save your pennies.
Ugh. There's listening. It wants to foot the bill in like 6 years.
I have a long lost uncle billionaire who wants to leave me some money. That'd be great.
Fantastic.
Like, we will be more than happy to.
Yep.
You're going to need some American presents.
We need to cover it for the podcast. It's for press reasons.
Yeah.
Press.
We're members of the press.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Most of us have been official correspondents to Traveling the Vortex.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's an official title.
Yes, we've made that a thing.
Yep.
Boys have made it a thing.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And the last bit of news, this is interesting, and I actually kind of missed the whole Sony debacle, what happened, but Marvel and Sony have been talking about getting about the Spider-Man movie rights, and there is an article floating around out there that Marvel's saying that they want to start completely. If they were to get the movie rights from Sony, they would want to start completely over, cast a new Spider-Man and integrate him again. Yeah, I know, and integrate him into Marvel's cinematic universe and with the Avengers, because when the news came down that they're incorporating the Civil War storyline in there, I'm like, Spider-Man's that is one of the few comic book stories I've actually read, an important part to that. I mean, he's not like, and the main focus in Civil War is Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, but Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's in there. I mean, I'm sure they can get around that if they don't get the movie rights back, but like, how do you do this? So anyway, nothing is set in stone yet. Nothing is said for sure, but that's just kind of what Marvel would like to do, is just kind of do their own thing. And you can't really blame them, because, I mean, Andrew Garfield is really great as Spider-Man, and I've only seen The Amazing Spider-Man. I haven't seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I've heard mixed reviews on it, and I'm just kind of like, I'm more involved with all these other things, and I already know the ending of the story. It's one of those things that's like, it's sort of ingrained in the pop culture consciousness, sort of like Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Yeah. And, Spider-Man cannot save Gwen Stacy. She dies. Yeah. Sorry. That happened. Yeah. So, I don't know. I would like to see Spider-Man in with the rest of the Marvel universe. Just stay tuned. This is happening in some way, shape, or form, I guess. And I guess Marvel is not generally pleased with how Sony has treated Spider-Man. Wow. So
Sony is not in good graces with a lot of people at the moment. There's like the Koreans managed to leak, like put like 5 of their films out there, and now like this email conversation between like the president, the other higher ups, like this whole like email conversation, like them being real like snippy to each other and just all saying all this crap and whatever is gotten out into the public. So Sony is not very popular at the moment.
Sony's just having all kinds of problems.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan. I didn't really care for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I didn't really care for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. You know what? We're on our third Bruce Banner. We can do a third Peter Parker. So
that is true.
You know, I say recast if that's what they feel like doing, because I'm sure that they can find somebody that's...
well, Marvel would have to get the rights back first.
Well, yes, that's the more important of the two, but...
Yeah.
You know,
although the way Sony's been, who knows?
Meanwhile,
stay tuned and pop some more popcorn.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my husband's over in the corner saying, "I don't care about Spider-Man. Bring in the X-Men." So.
Yeah, that's true.
He really wants the X-Men to be pulled into the MCU, and
Thing is, Fox is doing a really good job with them. So.
Yeah.
So. Wait and see, I guess. So, and speaking of Marvel, we're still working on the details, but we are planning on doing Marvel with Friends in congruence with our friend, the guys over at already do Friday Night Who, and we've done Flicks with Friends and Disney songs, but we're hoping to do Marvel with Friends and go through all 10 of the Marvel movies before Age of Ultron comes out in May. So the plan is right now to start either on the 27th or the 31st with the first Iron Man and go every other week until Guardians of the Galaxy. And we should watch Guardians of the Galaxy right before Age of Ultron comes out. That's the plan. But we don't know exactly if we're going to do it on... We're going to try to do the same night every week. So it's either going to be Saturday nights or Wednesday nights. We're still working that out. So stay tuned to our Facebook page and probably our Twitter. And Traveling the Vortex's Facebook page and Twitter. And once we hash it out, I'm sure we'll do a full schedule. And we'll post it on both so that you can mark a calendar. If you can join us, join us. If you can't, jump in whenever you can. So...
Yeah. And if you need access, I mean, if you don't own the movies, I think a lot of them are on Amazon Prime. I'm pretty sure a bunch of them are on Netflix.
Not all of them. None of the Thors are on Netflix, and the Avengers is getting ready to get dropped by Netflix at the end of the month.
Really?
Yes. But I have the Avengers, so.
But still, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Or rent it, or borrow it from your local library. They have it probably.
Yeah. So, and some of those are so old, like the first Iron Man 1 and 2. You could probably find in the bargain bin at this point in Walmart. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can try to. It'll be discounted.
Yeah, and I apparently we are including the Incredible Hulk. Is that the right one? The Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Hulk was the first one that was kind of...
I really don't care to include either, because I don't care for either of them, but... The Incredible Hulk does make an appearance at the end, I know, so...
Yeah. That was when they were just
counts.
barely getting their feet under them to do this, and trying to figure out, can we actually do this whole cinematic universe? And it was just getting off the ground, which you have to, everything has that.
Yeah,
has that
I get that not all of them were going to be blockbusters on the first try, and around...
Iron Man really came out of nowhere. No one was expecting, because Marvel had been and something else.
Yeah,
I can't remember. They really hadn't had a big blockbuster, and then Iron Man came out of nowhere. It really got its traction.
Yeah.
Have Iron Man to thank for so much.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yes. God bless you, Robert Downey Jr.
Indeed. Very deed. Yeah. So anyway, Marvel with Friends. Look forward to it. It's coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's it for news, and we actually do have some feedback. I know you guys can't see it. I purposely did not put it in here because it wasn't.
We do.
It wasn't sent via email. It was typed and given to me on a piece of paper from my husband.
Oh, I was like, what is this? Okay.
But I could have transcribed it, but there's actually this. It's funny because he actually gave me this. It's feedback, but it's also his present to me for our wedding anniversary that we just had.
Aww.
So we just had our 5th wedding anniversary, and
congratulations.
thank you. And
Congratulations.
he wanted we always when we give gifts to each other, we always try to make them something that means something but is also practical. Like, we're not going to give each other just like a little trinket that's going to sit on the shelf and collect dust, because that's just pointless and a waste of money. So he gave me this, and but there's something in here that applies to the podcast as a whole, and I wanted it to be a surprise for the rest of you guys. So I purposely did not put it in here, and there is stuff in here that's a little bit embarrassing for me, but
Well,
because he is a bit biased when it comes to me. He is my husband, but
as he should be.
yeah. So I will read this, and feel free to awe when you feel is appropriate, I guess. So or laugh.
Now I'm really curious about this.
So.
Me too.
And I want to try and keep a straight face, even though I've read this several times. Okay. So, dear 5ish Fangirls, I believe in your squeeze. I totally do. As a wise, shriveled up green puppet once said, do or do not. There is no try. So I am writing you with many compliments, ramblings, and an announcement today. But before I get to the announcement, I have to say, 1, your show has totally changed my wife. 2, and it's a very positive change, smiley face. 3, she really does love working on this show with you all, which I do. So, 4, it honestly passed through my head one time, they're totally going to get tired of doing this someday. 5, you surprised me because you've made it to 22 episodes. Holy Hoovians, Batman. Number 6. Seriously, wow. I have been working all year on a personal YouTube series, and I finally have episode number 1 uploaded. Whoop-de-doo. 7. Holy Time Lords, you have so many recorded past doctors introducing your show now, which is true. 8. All in all, I am impressed by what you have accomplished together over the last 6 months. By the way, I'm writing this on December 7th, and you recorded your first podcast on June 7th. That's 6 months to the day. Congrats, which we totally missed that. Crazy. So, going back to what the little green puppet said, you all did not just try this out. You're very persistent with your podcast, so you have done it. So Yoda would be proud. I am certainly proud. Where I am from, if you are as persistent at doing something as you girls are at your podcast, you will either be arrested for loitering or get put into a parade with a generic title on your float. 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. The moral of my rambling is that persistence makes things happen. I'm happy to announce here in this feedback that starting January 1st, 2015, I will be pledging to your Patreon campaign enough money per month so you will all be heard by the millions of Hoovians' ears on iTunes.
Oh my gosh! Oh, what are Chauncey's favorite cookies?
Actually, he likes pizza, so you figure out how to mail him some pizza. There's more.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Well, I think the best bet for that would be to find online, like a place you can order online and have it sent to you from a local pizza place.
I think so. Oh my gosh!
Oh, let me finish here.
There's more?
Well, that's it. There's more to the letter. So there's more to the feedback. So At my job, I give laboratory tours to high school and college students, and every so often I will get into a Who-related discussion, and I mention your podcast. They usually get excited and whip out their iPhone and ask, are they on iTunes? And after I explain how to find your show on YouTube, they lazily reply, oh, okay, and put their phone away, because searching on the YouTube app...
We need to be on
Yeah.
iTunes.
Because searching on the YouTube app is way too much work for these busy millennials. Ha! Sorry, my old man persona is coming out. Anyways, thank you for all what you do. Keep the dream alive. Live long and prosper. What does the fox say? And I will see you at Tashi Station, probably in the power converter aisle. Chauncey. So.
Thank you, Chauncey.
We'll still have to work out all the technical side of it, but sometime early next year we should be getting onto iTunes now. So.
Well, I sometimes give out business cards, and I'm a little tired of having to explain. We're not on iTunes, but you can find us on YouTube, and all the stuff's on our website.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe it.
I'll have to take a picture of the envelope. I'll have to take a picture of the
Christmas present right now.
So, like I said, we'll still have to work out the technical details, and I don't know how quick this will actually happen, but sometime early next year we should be getting up on iTunes. So those of you that have been asking, you're getting your wish. Knock on wood.
Feels like we're growing up.
Yeah, it does.
I know.
So
wow.
Yep. So
I think Chauncey found a way to shut me up.
So. Yeah.
She's grinning so big right now. My cheeks are starting to hurt a little bit.
So when y'all are watching Once Upon a Time tomorrow and your heart's being stomped on, just remember this.
I will. Oh my gosh, that was wow.
I feel kind of bad because Holly's not here to hear this, but
I know.
So we'll tell her so she'll because I know she'll listen to the episodes if she's not on it, but we should probably tell her so she doesn't die or something.
So she doesn't have awe effect.
Yeah.
No, that was perfect, Rachel. That was I'm glad you sprung this on us.
Yeah.
He kind of wanted to be here in the room just to hear your guys' reaction, but I was like, no.
He can listen to the podcast.
That's what I told him.
Honestly, I started crying.
I'm crying. Actually, listen to
cry.
So.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else for Christmas. Chauncey gave me the best things.
So yeah, we've been, obviously if you've been listening from the beginning, that's been our ultimate goal is to get the show onto iTunes, because iTunes is the funnel when it comes to podcasts. People, for the main, like mainstream, like NPR, like the Nerdist, people know to go to their website if they really want to hear it. But, for the smaller guys, that iTunes is really it. And it's because iTunes is nice and easy. You subscribe, and in theory, it should update and download new episodes. Although we know earlier in the week I was having trouble getting Traveling the Vortex to download on my iPad, but that's probably not. That's neither here nor there. So.
And you can actually take it on your phone or your iPad or iPod or whatever. Whereas YouTube, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
You need to be in a Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yeah.
Through YouTube.
Yeah. And you know, some people have been great about doing the MP3 downloads. You know, we've been offering those. We've been putting them up on Google Drive, and you can download the MP3. And some people have been doing it that way, but I know some people, they're having some technical troubles where they're downloading funky and not wanting to work. So hopefully this will make it a lot easier for the people already listening to make sure that they can listen on a regular basis, and also hopefully get us, you know, some new listeners, because
Bring in
you
new
know,
listeners. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we talk about so many different things, and I'm like, I know there are people out there who would love this. They just were hard to find, and we realize that. And
and we can't say enough good things about the guys at Traveling the Vortex about making sure to, you know, drop us a line when it, you know, every now and then on the show, and linking to it. You know, we can see on our blog, you know, where the traffic is coming from, and a lot of traffic is coming from the Traveling Vortex website, which is great. You know, when guys, you know, the guys have linked to our stuff in the show notes for theirs, and people have found it that way, and that's great. And hello for people who have found us from Traveling the Vortex. So we can't thank the guys there enough either for helping. So, but hopefully this is
so cool.
A new
dimension
for Five-ish Fangirls, especially considering we hit our 6-month anniversary, and apparently none of us counted or something. I don't know. So, and it's kind of appropriate that we've kind of hit a milestone in what we're talking about this week, actually.
And you know what? I just had a thought. So, like, our older episodes, when we get onto iTunes, we should, like, release those as, like, Throwback Thursday or something like that. So
we'll have to
listen to our old stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to look about getting past episodes up. The thing that I was looking at when we originally started this, and how I found out about how difficult it is to get onto iTunes, because it's a lot harder than you think it actually is, you know, we will be limited on how much we can upload on a monthly basis. So going back and uploading older episodes may not happen right away. We may upload like a new one and maybe an old one, and kind of work our way through so we don't max out that way, because we want to make sure that the newest episodes are the ones that go up.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So, but if
some of our stuff is going to be dated anyway, like, you know, Comic-Con and what have you.
Yeah. So we'll if we can get the older episodes up, we will, but we may start from just whatever episode we're on once we finally get all the subscription and feed stuff, technical stuff worked out. So, like I said, it's way more complicated than you think it actually is.
We're gonna have probably like 20, almost 30 episodes probably by the time we get on iTunes. So, wow.
Yeah.
I feel like a big kid now.
Yeah.
So, with that, like we alluded to, it's a kind of a milestone, and what we actually mentioned this on last week, we were talking about this week, but because it is middle December, we're 12 days away from Christmas as of recording, which is crazy to think about. So 2014 is almost over. So, as a lot of shows and various things are wont to do at this time of year, we're gonna turn back the clock and look back at not just everything, not just what we've covered since the show started, but the entire year in fandom. And we're gonna, you know, we're not gonna be able to cover everything, because that's just a lot.
Yeah.
And we don't have that kind of time.
And neither do you. But we're gonna hit the highlights.
But we're gonna try to hit some of the highlights, and to make this easy, we're just gonna go month by month by month. And some months were busier than others, so that's just the way things are. But obviously, we're going to start all the way back in January. Seems so long ago, and yet it seems like yesterday.
I was looking at some of the stuff we want to cover, and I'm like, wow, that was in January. Okay, because it feels like, well, it was a year ago, almost.
Almost. So.
Near enough.
Yeah. So, a couple of highlights for January. They finally broke ground for Pandora at Disney's Animal Kingdom, which Disney announced their they were teaming up with James Cameron. I blanked on his name there for a second. Quite a while ago, saying that they were going to work on bringing the world of Avatar to Disney's Animal Kingdom in Orlando, Florida, and ever since then, people have been calling it Avatar Land, Avatar Land, Avatar Land. It is not Avatar Land, first of all. It is Pandora. And I saw Avatar, and while I didn't really care for the movie, as far as the storyline, hello, it's like Dances with Wolves meets Fern Gully. That's the storyline. It's not anything you haven't seen before.
James Cameron, I gotta say this, James Cameron is not, he may be a great technical wizard and stuff. His storytelling sucks.
Yeah. But
sorry.
But Pandora
it is the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah.
It's true. Everyone goes to see the flashy wisdom. That's all. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Yeah. But I will grant them that Pandora as an environment and as a planet is absolutely gorgeous. Like with the creatures and like these luminescent plants and these bright colors and, just this amazing environment that it is. And Disney is going to bring this to life at their park in Florida. And actually Animal Kingdom, when it was originally in the works, if you're familiar with it, it's not a zoo. That's another thing that people will tell you. Animal Kingdom is more than just a park with animals. It's more than, but its focus was its different sections. There's like Asia and Africa, and there's a safari you can go on, and they've got all these great attractions, and they've got animals, which is great. But it was going to have a section dedicated to like mythological creatures, and if you look at the signage for the park, you will see and a lion, and there's a dinosaur, because there is a section dedicated to dinosaurs, but those were actual creatures, and then there is a dragon in the sign, and there was going to be a section dedicated to like mythological type creatures, and that part of the park just never came to fruition. So funding, I'm sure, it was probably a major issue. So the whole idea of like what a lot of Disney fans call Beastly Kingdom, has always been sitting there like, are we ever going to get, these mythological creatures in in the park? And it's just people have been kind of waiting. So this whole thing with James Cameron is finally bringing that in. So we're gonna get Pandora with when it gets dark, the plants are gonna glow, and there's gonna be they've got a river running through it, and there's gonna be a water like type show, and they did a test flight back when the new Fantasyland was getting ready to open, like the night before it opened for the public. They did a test flight for a flying dragon. So they've got the technology to try to get these flying creatures going. Not that people can ride them, but as far as, being able to something, because you can't do fireworks at Animal Kingdom because fireworks are bad for the animals, but they can do other stuff. And to be able to go, because Animal Kingdom is one of those parks where it's usually the one that closes earlier than any of the others. It closes at like 6-7 o'clock, because after dark the animals want to go to sleep, and without the animals, that leaves you with a handful of shows and a handful of attractions, which in itself is fine, but it's still
people
not.
Go there to see the animals.
Yeah, and people, once it gets dark, people are like, well, I'm going to go to the Magic Kingdom and go see the cool parade and the fireworks, because that's the stuff you want to see once it gets dark. So the fact that they're going to be able to do this and have, this something that's going to keep people in the park after it gets dark, and knowing what Disney is capable of as far as theming and being able to build buildings and doing stuff with plants and all this stuff, it's going to be gorgeous, is what it's going to be. Say what you want about the movie itself, but Pandora as a land that you're actually being able to walk into is going to be absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Yeah. It's not. So we got a ways to go, but at least they finally cracked ground on it, and they are working on it. So, with time, we'll get to see more and hear more and actually see once they actually make some decent headway. Because it's going to be a while before we actually, like, if you were to go and see the construction before actually anything's going to look like it's anything. But the concept art is just, yes, like, take my money. Not that they're not going to get my money anyway, because I go every year. But it's like, this is going to give me a reason to want to go to Animal Kingdom and stay there longer than I normally do. So
that is going to be cool.
Yeah.
That would get me excited.
Yeah.
Like a few hours away.
Yeah. See? Even better.
Yeah. There you go.
Road trip to Brittany's, and then we'll all go to Disney. So. So, other major thing that happened in January is Peter Capaldi started filming as the Doctor for Doctor Who, and we saw, people's cell phone images and video of him riding a fake horse through London in a nightgown. And now that we've seen Deep Breath, that makes more sense. But at the time, we were like, what the heck is he doing?
And we also saw the filming for the end scene of Deep Breath.
Yes.
With the phone call.
Yeah.
With the phone call.
Yep. Even seeing that out of context, it made it feel more real because, we just, Matt Smith had just regenerated. We just had all the, emotional highs of the 15th anniversary. And then in January, you're just kind of sitting there going, okay, what do I do now? And you're just, I don't know, I was kind of just feeling sort of listless about the whole thing. And then I saw that clip, and usually I don't go seeking out spoilers. But this one, I was just kind of in a really down mood that day. And I saw it on Tumblr and like, what the heck? I'm just going to look at it. And I saw it, and you couldn't hear everything that was being said, but I could hear some of Capaldi's lines, like, I'm not on the phone, I'm right here. And it was just kind of like, this is going to be fine. We're going to be okay. And I don't know. I guess it just sort of got me on the right day and the right mood that I just was like, yep, this will be fine. It'll be good.
Mm.
So that was. Yeah, definitely something to remember.
I just remember seeing some people's the video of when they were filming the horse. I'm using quotation marks here. The horse scene, and it's funny because they were in between takes, and like the director, set person, or whoever was talking to the crowd, saying, please don't make sure your flash isn't turned on or anything because this is supposed to be Victorian London, and that would just that wouldn't work in Victorian London. And it's funny, but at the same time, it's like, that's cool that they were just all like, make sure your flash is not on, but you can stay and feel free to film and take pictures. Just don't have your flash on because that would ruin the take. So I was like, that's cool that that for the most part, they don't care that the fans are there watching.
Yeah, if it's an open set, then especially because I know they do this with Once Upon a Time, because when they film outside the outside parts of Storybrooke, it's an actual town in Vancouver. Outside Vancouver, and they've just sort of dressed it up, and like people, they have places where people can line up and just sort of watch the filming, and they take pictures and video and stuff. They just say, don't interfere with the filming or anything, but if the cast comes over and want you can talk to them and take pictures and stuff. And I'm like, man, that'd be just. It'd just be cool just to watch filming of anything, really.
Yeah.
I'm so accommodating for that.
Now we all need to go to Vancouver.
That's actually, I thought about that. I'm like, that's not too far away from me. I think I could wing that.
Yeah.
Trip. So that started off the year on a good note there. February was also kind of quiet, actually, for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people too, but I know for me, February also meant the 50th anniversary of the Beatles' debut on the Ed Sullivan Show, and they did this special. They did a nice little thing during the Grammys, but then they also had a separate special that all just encompassed, the Beatlemania hitting the United States, and just this, what their appearance on Ed Sullivan did for just pop culture in general and music, and the influence that the Beatles have had. And we got to see Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr perform together, which, shoot me. I've seen Paul 3 times. I think 3. And I've seen Ringo once, but not together. And I know several years ago, Paul made a Ringo did, I think in New York, and it was Ringo's 64th birthday, which, if you know the Beatles, 64 is kind of a fun age to reach because they have a song When I'm 64, so it's like one of those so when Ringo turned 64, Paul made an appearance and sang Happy Birthday, and him and Ringo jammed out for a little bit. And that was cool, but generally Ringo and Paul don't perform together because they've got their own careers, doing their own thing. You know, they see each other and they're friends, but they don't perform together. So to have this happen was just, for me, just like, oh, I wish I was there. I would give like probably part of an arm to have been in the audience for that. And it wasn't just them. They had lots of other artists perform a lot of the Beatles tunes, and talk about the influence that the Beatles had on their own musical career and all that. So that was very, very cool. And then also in February is Gallifrey 1, and one of ours got to attend this year. So, which I think we did our convention episode early on, and we'll put a link to that, and we discussed our experiences and all that. But obviously Mitch got to go to Gallifrey 1, and she got to experience the mat. And Chrissy's been to Galley before too. And
I was gonna go this year, but car trouble prevented me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway,
but
Mitch, do you want to hit any highlights about it, or?
It was Galley. It was madness.
It was awesome, and everyone should go to Galley.
And you were on Traveling the Vortex too, weren't you? Didn't they? Okay, I was, so we could put a link to
every evening. Traveling the Vortex. Me, Sean, and Mel recorded an update for Traveling the Vortex.
Yeah.
Those are available on their iTunes feed, so go check those out.
Yeah. We can put a link to them as well. So, yeah.
Yep.
We'll put a link to those to those as well. So.
Speaking of, and just say that, I remembered was one of the highlights was Arthur Darvill liking my name.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I kind of squeed about on that day's update.
Yeah.
That would have been a really cool experience.
That's kind of where you cut your podcasting teeth, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. And what brought me in mind of, like, maybe we could do something like this, like a female Traveling the Vortex listeners kind of spin-off podcast.
Yeah, that's where it kind of started, and then
and then I sent in feedback, like, just kind of to send out feelers, and you guys all responded, and that was great.
Yep.
Yeah. And here we are.
Here we are.
We'll get to that here in a little bit, but so that was February. In March, this is actually it probably not anything that interests you guys, but it affects me because it made my husband very happy. But Facebook purchased Oculus VR, which if you're any familiar with the virtual reality and where tech is going, the Oculus is the most well-known VR headset out on the market at the moment. It looks like a giant pair of ski goggles, but it has a screen in it that's slightly smaller than an iPad mini, And my husband uses one at work. He's got a couple of them, and he's working on stuff for work right now. Specialist doing some stuff, and we're gonna have him on. The thing he was alluding to in his feedback is actually something very exciting that he's working on. Not only the YouTube thing that he's working on, but it's leading up to this thing he's working on for work with the Oculus. But he's Palmer Luckey, the guy that invented the Oculus. My husband has actually met Palmer a couple times. Palmer is like somebody like my husband, where he was interested in virtual reality and technology, and he had this idea, and he put up a Kickstarter, and he asked for like a couple $100,000. He ended up with like $1 million in pledges and donations, and now Facebook purchased Oculus for like $2 billion or something ridiculous like that.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
but this is something that my husband is very passionate about, and therefore I hear about it a lot. And it's not that I'm not excited about it, because if he's excited about it, I'm excited about it. And I know again, I'm biased because he's my husband, but he's really good at what he does. And I think what he's doing is going to be very exciting for technology and stuff that I think could have a trickle-down effect to our media consumption for our various fandoms and the way we experience our various fandoms. And so that's why, I'm excited about what some of this stuff is happening. So, but like I said, we'll have my husband on probably sometime early next year, and he can tell you all about it. So he's going to CES, which is a consumer electronics show, which happens in Vegas every year, and it's like Comic-Con, but for technology. So after he comes back from CES, I think we'll probably have him on, and he could tell us all about CES. It's in February, it's in January. It's in early January, but it's in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and it's a big deal. CES is, and a lot of all the major technology companies that you could think of, and others that you haven't of, always are there showing off their latest tech and their stuff that they've got in the works, and there's demonstrations and all this, and it's just madness. And he'll tell us all about it when he returns. And Palmer Luckey may be there, so maybe he'll see Palmer again, so who knows. I think he
on Space Channel there's this little talk show, Inner Space, and I think at least one of the co-hosts of that usually goes to that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Like they go to all these sorts of CES or the game
E3
release, E3 and
So
stuff like that.
Yeah. If you're a technology person,
shows and they report on them for their show.
Yeah.
And stuff. So if you're in Canada, watch Inner Space. I think they usually do that on the Monday or the Tuesday after the show.
Yeah.
So they go to the show, they get back, they report on it, what they saw, what they were particularly excited by.
Yeah. Yep.
It's great.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for him to go and be with his people. So,
yes.
Comic-Con and Chicago TARDIS, that's my thing. CES is his thing. So.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. But so that was at least exciting in this household here. And in not so exciting news, but like I said, we're going to touch on the good, the bad, and unfortunately the not so happy stuff that happened throughout the year. But also in late March, we lost Kate O'Mara, also known as the Ronnie from Doctor Who, which if you have heard me talk about the Ronnie in the past, you know that the Ronnie is like my favorite villain in all of Doctor Who. I absolutely love the Ronnie, and I'm sad that she only got 2 televised appearances. With the Mark of the Ronnie and Time of the Ronnie. Thankfully, they are bringing the character back in Big Finish, and actually that's releasing this month. They're bringing back the Ronnie as a character, but obviously not with Kate O'Mara. In a new set of stories, so you can go on Big Finish to order those. But it's always sad when you lose somebody in the Doctor Who family and fandoms in general, but especially the Doctor Who family, just because the show has been around for so long, and you get into it and you discover these actors and these characters. And then you realize, depending on when they're on the show, it's a significant amount of time has passed and they're getting older. Mm-hmm. And, it's just like, we got into it when we did, but, the show came back, when it did. And by the time the show came back, William Hartnell had been gone for a while. Troughton had been gone for a while. Pertwee had been gone for a while. It's like...
Well, Hartnell was gone before the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
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 Well, and it's like you said, Rachel, we're, a lot of us, us here have come into Doctor Who later in life. But when we go back and we watch the classic series, we're like, oh, I love these characters. Like, I've gone back and watched the Hartnell era stuff, and I love William Hartnell's Doctor, and I love his companions. I love Barbara Wright. She's one of my favorite companions. And Jacqueline Hill, she passed away in 1993, and it's like I will never get to meet her,
mm-hmm.
Like at a convention or something like that. I mean, I could still conceivably meet William Russell, Ian Chesterton, because I'm like, he's fantastic, or that mm-hmm. kind of thing. So it's like, you see these characters, and you fall in love with them, and you want to, if you have a chance to meet the actors who played them, you do it, because you don't know when you'll have that opportunity,
mm-hmm.
or if it'll come by again.
We've lost a lot in the past few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just
like Liz Sladen, Nicholas Courtney, Carolyn John,
Mary
Kate O'Mara.
Yeah. So, if you have the opportunity to go to a convention and meet these people, if you can do it, do it.
Yeah.
Even if you just go say hi to them and have a conversation with them, you don't have to get their autograph if you can't afford it or something like that. But it's just good to meet them. And then you realize, hey, they're just normal, nice people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I went to Galley, I was starstruck as all get out.
Yeah.
But, it's just cool to see them.
Mm-hmm. Unless you're Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts.
Dressing for the occasion.
Always
dressing for the occasion. Yeah. So we actually it's a somber thing to talk about, but at the same time I kind of have to squee because when we found out about the passing of Kate O'Mara, we decided to do an impromptu tweet along, and we all did a tweet along to watch Mark of the Ronnie. So it was like a Thursday night or something random. And mm-hmm. so a bunch of us were on Twitter, and we were watching Mark of the Ronnie, and we were tweeting, and I so happened to tweet something, and Colin Baker happened to be online and saw it and responded to my tweet. And I died. I died. And then I tweeted back and asked him something else, and he responded again. So I had a four tweet Twitter conversation with Colin Baker.
Less Twitter. I know there's a lot of crazy crap that happens on Twitter, but sometimes there's some good stuff that comes out of it too.
Yeah.
And it's like, due to the time difference, even with him being in England, it was still the middle of the night, but he had insomnia, happened to be up and be on Twitter. And he saw my tweet.
Of all the random. You never know.
So. It was a sad thing because we were doing this tweet along because Kate had passed, but just the fact that it in turn got me a conversation. I'm using air quotes with my doctor over Twitter. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And Brittany can tell you, like,
It's a
I
silver
flipped
lining.
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I
kind of
messaged
like-
Brittany and I was
I don't want to be, rude or anything here, but it's kind of like when you have a death in the family and you have a funeral and everybody, your whole family comes together and you see cousins that you haven't seen in years and years and years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. I mean, it's sad. The reason you got together is sad, but it's still nice to see them. And I mean, it's not the same thing, but
yeah.
it just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
we're all remembering Kate O'Mara.
yeah. So that was March, and actually in April we
April
lost.
didn't start out much
Yeah,
better.
April didn't start out a whole lot better. We lost Bob Hoskins, which his name may not resonate with a lot of people, but if you've seen Hook or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, then you know who we're talking about. He played Smee in Hook, and he was Eddie Valiant in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
And he was also Mario in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
We don't
which,
talk
yes,
about that.
I know we don't talk about that. But I talk about that because it's one I remember with fondness, even though it's not the greatest movie. But I watched it a lot when I was a kid, so there. And I liked it. I haven't seen it in years, granted, but it's still one of my childhood.
I don't think I've ever
favorites.
seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen like clips and like GIFs and all that, but I don't think I've actually seen it.
You're probably better off for it. Just kidding. Kind of.
I do have like a curiosity, so I probably end up watching it at some point in my life.
Just take it for what it is. There was this point in time where they were trying to adapt like the hit video games into movies, and it didn't all
really
work.
But John Leguizamo was cute. Anyway, I'm sorry I derailed us.
That's okay.
Oh, I forgot he was in Son of Mask. Sorry, I was looking for
Imdb is your friend. So that was sad too. And I had actually just watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit like not long before he passed too, which kind of bittersweet serendipity, I think.
Yeah. Well, I know. I don't know if anybody here watches Nostalgia Critic, but he had just done. Oh, it wasn't a full-on review of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but it was like one of his side editorials, and he talked about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then like two or 3 days later, the news about Bob Hoskins came out, and I was like, Nostalgia Critic, you jinxed it. But yeah, it was really sad, and then I was like, you realize how many movies he's been in that you've seen, and you're like, oh, I like that movie. Oh, I like that movie, and that was, that one too. Oh man, and he was that guy in that movie, and all these things. So you're kind of like blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and we lost Harold Ramis somewhere at that point for Ghostbusters. Was it in March? Right around there.
Don't remember.
But while we're talking about beloved characters from childhood, is Egon in Ghostbusters, and it's always my favorite Ghostbuster.
Which is sad because last month I think that
February?
Yeah.
February 24th.
Yeah, because Entertainment Weekly always does a reunion issue every year, and they bring casts together. And this year they brought the cast of Ghostbusters together, and it was kind of sad that they did it, and Harold was not there. So, and apparently Bill Murray was obnoxiously late for the photo shoot, which is very in tune with how Bill Murray is in general. But that's
yeah.
Well, you watch the movies and you're kind of like, yeah, Bill Murray. That was his character. It was in character, and
Yeah.
Makes sense.
He's Bill Murray. Bill Murray is Bill Murray. That's all I'm going to say. So.
Indeed.
It's speaking of movies. We had Captain America: The Winter Soldier was released in theaters, and with that, we got the return of Hydra,
which has permeated the Marvel Cinematic Universe everywhere.
Yeah.
It seems.
And
I'm Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'm gonna refrain from going on another tirade about a certain person who said that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would not spoil anything in America. Because I've already been on that tirade twice on this podcast. I don't think I need to do it a third time. You know who you are, sir.
If you want to hear that tirade, go listen to our old episodes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I went on that tirade in our spoilers episode and the Marvel episode. So.
I remember this.
You know who you are. What, Greg?
We love you, but dang it!
Yeah. I love him. I really do, but Coulson lies. Anyway.
Before Rachel gets worked up into another tirade, April was.
Stop me!
April was an interesting month. You know what? I'll save my personal reminiscence for later. But I will say that I attended, which I did not. I talked about this, I think, on here, especially since the second iteration of FanX is getting going. In fact, they announced that Brandon Routh, he's going to be there in the end of January. Who, if you don't know who that is, he's Ray Palmer in Arrow, and he was also Superman in Superman Returns, which is the one that nobody talks about ever. And now Man of Steel gets everyone's ire. But anyway, Brandon Routh, he's cool. But anyway, FanX in April, this was the first one. It was sort of the reason that they did it this way is because Comic-Con in the previous September was so huge, and so many people. Let's do another convention. And it was kind of like, well, is this even going to work? And yeah, it broke all the same records that Comic-Con did in September. And so now we have 2 comic conventions in Salt Lake plus FantasyCon. So it's like Comic-Con does Comic-Con and FanX, and then there's FantasyCon, which is during the summer. So I was mostly there for work in April, so I didn't get to see any panels or anything like that, but I did get to see a lot of cosplay. I just got to, kind of wander around the convention floor. I almost got a faraway picture of Karen Gillan, but someone glared at me, so I decided not to do it. But yeah, Karen Gillan was there, but I did get a Carl Urban, who he was at the time there was a show. What was it called? Almost Human. It was on Fox, and he was also.
They got canceled.
Yeah, they got canceled.
I thought it was good, but
my dad said it was good. I never got around to watching it. I was like, well, it's canceled, so I'm not going to watch it because I'll just up and be mad. But he was also Aomer in the. I got a contraband picture of Carl Urban, and I still have it on my phone. It's far away and fuzzy, but it's still pretty cool. So anyway, yay conventions, and I don't really have much to say about that. I think I talked about it in our convention episode. So again, go back and listen to that if you want to hear about it.
Yeah. And
speaking of conventions,
I went starting off June. I went to Niagara Falls Comic Con for a day, specifically to see Sylvester McCoy. And get my photo taken with him, and get his autograph and stuff.
He was good,
which you and I we just did Sylvester McCoy back to back that summer because the month previously I had saw Sylvester McCoy here in Indianapolis at PopCon, which
Sylvester McCoy's also been making their.
Which was
now if we could just get Peter Davison to do that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
In 2013 for the 50th.
That's true.
I met him at a convention at the beginning of November in 2013.
Yeah. Yeah, because I saw Peter.
So, he made the rounds for the 50th anniversary. Like all these, as he went. I think I read
skipped over
somewhere that he
that
went to
novel.
as many conventions as he could because
Okay.
it was of the 50th anniversary. So,
Okay. He just didn't make it to Salt Lake, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Davison.
well, maybe he had a conflicting, like,
I
he-
know,
a
I'm
pre-existing- like another convention, because
Yeah.
there's like a lot, like that's.
I know, there are
It's a lot of conventions, so.
So he
That's
probably
true.
had
I
something
just-
else somewhere, like another convention.
Yeah, I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. Anyway.
Also
Maybe
in
eventually he will make
Yeah.
it out to Salt Lake, because he does do quite a bit of conventions.
He's the only doctor I am lacking, classic doctor I'm lacking other than Tom Baker, but he's never gonna make it anywhere. He
No.
doesn't do
Well,
Say
Tom
he
Baker
doesn't-
doesn't come overseas like at all for
No.
any reason.
Tom refuses to fly,
You know what?
so
Yeah, he's like John Madden.
This is in no way confirmed, but it might have something to do with the fact that both Patrick Chung and John Pertwee died while in America.
or he just doesn't like flying.
Well, if he's in any way superstar, I'm not risking that.
I wouldn't
Fair
fault him
point.
for that, I guess. So,
Yeah.
well, Troughton died at a convention.
At a convention, I know. Like,
That makes it twice as
If he's in any way superstitious,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
would probably seem like way too big a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Especially
Anyway.
since he's getting on in years.
yeah.
He's 80.
Yeah. I try not to think about how old Tom is and
I know.
Yeah,
You know,
I
he's still getting around to doing stuff. I think
Yeah.
he's gonna
He
live forever.
does do conventions in the UK,
yeah,
so
because he can
if
get to him by
you're
train
in
and
the,
stuff.
ever
So.
in the UK,
Yeah.
you can see him, but
If you
Yeah.
can get there
Yes, I
by
will-
train from Tom's house, he can probably attend. So
Yeah. Anyway,
I think that's the way it works. So, but
yeah.
backtracking a little, there was a Kickstarter campaign announced, which just like blew. And I'm sure a lot of people's as well. But
Oh, yeah.
LeVar Burton had announced a Kickstarter to bring back Reading Rainbow into classrooms, not on TV, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But
into
still, it is bringing
But
back
that's-
Reading Rainbow.
Yep.
I know.
Unsurprisingly, the first people that I saw this on Facebook from were my fellow librarians.
Yeah.
Everybody, we were talking about this left, right, and center. It was, and like didn't they meet their goal in like 2 days or less?
Yeah,
than 2
it
days
was-
or something like that. And he said, like, you know,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were still donating because the deadline was still so far away, and there was all these interviews with LeVar Burton, and he was saying, like, man, I didn't think people would donate like this, and I was like, are you kidding me?
It's like,
Reading Rainbow. What is for
all of our
Like, what?
childhood.
that's my childhood.
It's like, how can you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I meant to, but I didn't get around to it before the deadline.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it was still. I mean, it looks so cool the way that they've got it all set up, and it's all online, and you know that they put it in all the schools, and it's like at our library we have I'm trying to remember what it's called Tumble Books, and it's like you have picture books on your iPad, which is kind of cool, but it's connected to your library card. So if you don't have a library card, you can't check them out. Or if you don't have an iPad, you can't check them out, which, you know, kind of defeats the purpose. But you know, it's cool. It's cool that they're putting a concentrated effort to get them into schools and things, because the kids nowadays they don't know Reading Rainbow, and a lot of them, like, what am I trying to say? They like I meet a lot of kids who like to read, and I meet a lot of kids who don't like to read. That their parents are, you know, dragging them into the library because they have to read a book for school, and they just don't want to do it or anything like that. So anything that you can get the kids reading and making it fun and interesting, and it's actually something that they want to read, I'm all for it. It's like, let's do it. And you know, there's just so much, and I could go on about this. Maybe someday we'll do a book a book podcast or so, or well, something. I don't
Might
know.
get long.
That will. But I'm just so excited that it's Reading Rainbow. And here we go. Let's do this.
Yes. So, and speaking of at least Archivist, May was when Lionsgate announced that a Power Rangers reboot was in the works. Which, if you weren't high off the Reading Rainbow thing, it's like Power Rangers Reading Rainbow. Like, what am I, like 10 again in front of the TV here? What is this?
Well, if that nostalgia wasn't enough,
yeah,
man, May was just the month of nostalgia of cool stuff coming back from your childhood, and this next one, I mean, this announcement came the day before my birthday, and I went through the ceiling just with glee, and I was at work when I saw this, and I was just like, are you kidding me? Was that Viz Media announced that they got the North American rights to Sailor Moon, including the rights to create a new English dub, and they started airing the English or the original anime on Hulu and Neon Alley. It was a subtitle, Japanese with English subtitles at first, and since then they have released the English dub slowly. It's come out on Blu-ray and DVD, and oh my gosh, you guys, this was I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched that when you were a kid or growing up or had anything to do with it, but
sporadically. But yes, I did watch it.
Yeah, it was like occasionally. It was something I wanted to watch, but for some reason I never got into it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I just and I credit at the time she just was like, this is so cool, and I started watching it and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool. And then she lost interest, and then my brother started teasing me for watching it, but I kept watching it anyway. But just for so many years, you just could not get anything Sailor Moon, just because the original, the 90s English dub. Now that I'm older and I kind of like, okay, yeah, I can see where it was not very good in a lot of places. Just because they changed some stuff, and then they added things in that were just kind of like, okay, that just sounds stupid. But it's still, it's childhood. But now I know what the story is supposed to be about and how it's supposed to go, and I still love it. And now there's there's just so much. Like there's the manga reprints, there's DVDs, there's the new anime. It's everywhere now, and I'm just so excited. So May was a good month.
I think we still have a VHS of like a couple of those old episodes from the 90s.
Yeah, and they put a few episodes on the VHS, but it didn't really go in order, so you didn't really know what the whole story was. Yeah. So it was kind of like, I don't know what's going on here. But basically, I mean, for my part, it's like, okay, you've got princesses, superheroes from outer space. Well, solar system, but outer space plays a part in it. It's like, what's not to love? And there's a love story, so it gets even better.
Win-win.
So, yes, everyone wins.
Yep. Great. Yeah. So that was May.
Yeah,
May was exciting.
The original run was 91 to 97.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
I was in junior high, so that makes me feel really old. But so May was exciting. And June was exciting because even though I put this in the show notes, 2 and 2 did not make 4, but 6 months ago in June we released the first episode of the Five-ish Fangirls.
And here we are, guys.
Which was I think we recorded the night either the Saturday or the Sunday after I got back from Niagara Falls Comic Con.
Yeah, it was Colin Baker's birthday, so that's why I could always it's always around. So the anniversary is always going to be around Colin Baker's birthday, which
it's like a week after mine.
It's very fitting.
Yeah, at least for one of us. So that was and we had Sylvester McCoy as our opener for at least a little while
Yeah.
there, so that was exciting. So,
How many
So
podcasts?
Sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna. What was I gonna say? Oh, that we had it in the works like a couple, about a month beforehand. That's how Rachel, she went to PopCon and got Sylvester McCoy to record a bumper for us. But then we were released in June. So, things were getting going.
Yeah. Stuff was in the works, and
Well, we planned for about a month before we actually
pulled the trigger.
Release.
Yeah. Started coming up with topics and things like that. Our first topic was actually about favorite fathers
Well, because we did our intro episode.
Yeah, we did our
intro episode, and then we did the
Father's Day
Dad's Father's Day episode.
That was a fun one.
Yeah.
They've all been fun.
They've all been fun. So.
Yeah.
So then we reach July, and actually July was kind of a busy month in fandom too. The second half of the year, like it would go in chunks where months would be like crazy with stuff, and then like other months it'd be like, oh,
we're bored.
Not much is going on. Well, it's because we were too busy watching our shows, I think, more than anything.
True.
But July saw the release of Weird Al's new album, Mandatory Fun, which was his last contractually obligated album release with the contract that he signed with his label way back in the 80s.
Wow.
When he first started, he had signed a contract for so many I'm sure he's probably renegotiated since then, but he was contractually obligated to do so many albums, and Mandatory Fun was the last one. So he fulfilled his contract with his album. And it ended up blowing up and being one of the biggest albums ever. Thing where he released a music video every day leading up to the release of the album itself. So we got like 7 music videos released, and some were better than others, but it was still it was getting him out there.
To release, a 7, and when you're running to release them that quick, you got some have got to be. Some are going to be live, some are going to be animated, some are going to be various different things.
Formats.
So you got to get them.
Yeah,
they're all going to be way different.
But
they were all enjoyable.
Yeah, but it was his idea to try and get some good word of mouth out there, and it worked because Mandatory Fun ended up going #1 on the Billboard chart, which was the first time in his entire career that an album had gone #1. Which I've been a Weird Al fan for a long time, and he'll have to be like a topic for an episode in the future, just all by himself. But I've got almost all of his albums. Some of like the really early ones I haven't got my hands on because they're kind of hard to find. And he's one of those artists where I want to have the physical copy. I don't just want to do the digital download. And
I have
so
at least
there's a few I'm missing, but
I have a digital copy of at least one of his albums.
Yeah. So, but for what's probably going to be his last proper album, to have that go #1 is just really cool. I mean, he's still going to make music, but what he's planning on doing now, because a lot of his stuff is topic, whether it's whatever song he's using to parody is the hit song at the moment, or the topic itself is whatever's the topic du jour at the time, to make sure that what he puts out is relevant. He's actually he thinks he's going to go more the route of like singles or like EPs, digital EPs, so that he can get his music out there while it's still fresh and the topic is still fresh and the music is still fresh.
Yeah. Or kind of like, because I saw an interview with him and he's like, impressed with what YouTube musicians do, and you look at the ones I know of, really well. Like the Piano Guys and Lindsay Sterling and Alex Boye does the same thing. Like they all, they started out making music videos and just putting them on YouTube or making music, and that's just sort of the way. And then you put it on iTunes and you just buy the single. And so I'm like, yeah, I think that. I mean, that's the way music's going. Like I don't buy CDs anymore. I buy the individual. The songs. Now, if it's on like a movie soundtrack, like Frozen or something, I'll buy the whole thing if I like the whole thing. But yeah, I think that's just good. That's just good business. That's good smart marketing.
Yeah, especially when you do the type of music that he does.
Yeah, and his lends itself to it very much.
Yeah.
So that works.
Yeah. So
let's see. And also in July, I talked about Sailor Moon earlier. Sailor Moon Crystal, which is the new reboot / remake / new anime, started airing on Neon Alley and Hulu. So I've been getting my Sailor Moon fix quite aptly on two fronts. And Crystal is very different than
on that.
They just had episode 11. Last Saturday? I can't remember.
Well, it's been a few weeks since I last.
Yeah, I've been watching it. I haven't been reviewing it because my computer's it's not been doing so hot.
I'm probably like an episode or two behind because they only release every other.
Yeah,
week.
they go every other. Well, it's the first and third
Saturday every month, which
so like
there's usually 4 weeks a month.
Mm-hmm. But November, they had 5 weeks, so you kind of got skewed on the schedule. Although, I'm thinking the way that it's going so far, I feel like it's something that's more conducive to mainlining, because the episodes are so short. I mean, they're like 25 minutes long. But you're watching it, you're getting into the story, and then it ends, and it's like,
yeah,
I need the next one, because they're going along with the manga. With each episode represents an act from the manga, and so like when you could read the manga, you just you just go on to the next one within that volume. So it's like you're like getting, okay, yeah, this is really good, and I'm really enjoying it. But I'm looking forward to when it's all done, going back and watching it from beginning to end, and like just watching it in that whole long continuous thing. So I think that's kind of what. And people, I guess, are not happy about the way that it's been going, but I'm kind of like, well, it's like they told you it's going to follow the manga. Like, why are you complaining about this? You knew what was going to happen when you went into it, but whatever. I'm not here to complain about them. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. I just wish it would come out faster. That's my only complaint. Like, it's going the release schedule's too slow for me. But I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
So that started in July, and it's been going pretty strong ever since.
Mm-hmm. Also in July, we got the trailer for the Series 8 of Doctor Who.
And our collective brains went.
Yeah.
Because at that point, we were like, we're getting so close, and it's like, we were all chomping at the bit, like, bring it on, and...
We're done with our Doctor Who break. Yeah. I know you saturated it in the 50th anniversary year, but dang it, we want more.
Yeah.
Yes.
There comes a point where you're just like, yeah, we're enough of this break, let's go on.
Yep. So... excuse me.
And then also, Diagon Alley opened at Universal Studios Orlando. First news items, or one of our first. I remember when we were talking about it on the podcast, and they had like the cast of the Harry Potter movies. A lot of them came in, and it was like the coolest picture. And in fact, I posted this on the Facebook page from the committee to do a Harry Potter Teen Yule Ball, and as part of this marketing, we post on social media, and I posted on the Facebook page a picture of James and Oliver Phelps, who played the Weasley twins, coming out of Zonko's joke shop, and I was just like, That is the picture of the year right there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like just loaded down with all kinds of joke stuff, and I'm just like, man, like where like the lines between reality and fantasy are becoming very, very blurred here.
Yeah.
Little
This
bits.
is the greatest thing ever.
Mhm.
And then to cap off July, we had a Christmas in July, as we like to call it, or Fandom Christmas.
Fandom Christmas.
San Diego Comic-Con.
There was much fangirling, much squeeing, much spoilering, and much passing out.
Yeah.
And that was just from watching from our computer screens. Had we been there, I know I wouldn't have survived.
Benedict Cumberbatch and giant penguins. That's all you need to know.
Indeed.
Yeah. And there was other stuff too, but Benedict Cumberbatch and giant penguins. That's all you need to know.
That was the
It's
That was the big there.
There may have been other stuff like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Marvel and, like Once Upon a Time and all, but Benedict Cumberbatch and penguins.
Wasn't there a video kind of making fun of the way he pronounced penguins? Like he couldn't.
He was
say
on
it
the Graham Norton show, and apparently
Graham
he
Norton,
can't pronounce penguins.
He was pronouncing it incorrectly, and Graham was giving him a hard time about it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. He's still adorable. So.
Oh yeah.
It
I
doesn't
remember
matter.
getting weird looks because I can remember the first day of San Diego Comic Con. I was at the library celebrating one of the librarian's birthdays, and I was making some food, and I just stopped to look at my Twitter, and I just started laughing and squealing, and my librarians were staring at me like, what the heck is happening with her? And I tried to explain, but no one understood, so I was kind of disappointed.
That's why you have us.
It's Fandom Christmas. That's all you need to know. Oh, that was July, and then we get to August, and we finally get the return of Doctor Who, and the debut of Peter Capaldi as a Doctor with Deep Breath, which we covered extensively in episodes.
In episode 12.
Episode 12, so.
Appropriately enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the 12th Doctor. So. We planned that, we really did.
We did.
So, if you want to go back to episode 12 and hear our review of that, and some of us saw it on TV, some of us saw it in the movie theater, some of us saw it both ways. So
someone saw it on the iPod.
Yep. So.
Oh yeah, that too.
So.
Yeah. I saw it on TV and in theaters on the 25th.
Yep. Oh, I did too, and I wish we could have done the entire season in the movie theater. I totally would have done it.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Oh.
It would get pretty pricey.
Yeah, it would.
Well, they should do what iTunes does and get like a season pass.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Business idea. You listen in Regal and AMC and BBC and all that. Yeah.
Do it.
Anyway.
And then one of the best movies of the year, I argue the best movie of the year, and I defy anyone to fight me on this, is Guardians of the Galaxy was released in August. Woo! And the reason I say it's the best movie of the year is because nobody expected it to be the best movie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And you go and see it, and you're just like, dude, this is great.
Yes.
This is amazing. In fact, this was one of the few this year that I went and I saw again in the theaters, because, I mean, there's a lot of movies I want to see. There are some that I would like to see more than once, but, time and funds do not allow for this. But August, I don't know. There was one weekend I was just like, I need to see Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend, because I need me some Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I need Groot. Yeah. I need Star-Lord. I need Awesome Mix Volume 1.
Which has
I
been
mean, I'm
on
listening
repeat.
to it in the car, but it ain't cutting it. I need to see it again. And now it's out on DVD, and I need to go see it again, but I need to go buy it.
And you need that person's leg.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I need that leg. I need a Rocket Raccoon plushie, which I actually saw. This is jumping ahead a little bit, but on Halloween, where I was working, and I kind of had my Halloween costume sort of, and I was sort of counting up costumes because there was a Halloween story time that morning, and kids could come in their costumes. I saw a Rocket Raccoon. And I was just like, "You're adorable."
And he went, ha! It's real.
It's real.
Did he have a little part with a little Groot? No, he
didn't have a Groot. That was the only thing that was left.
I need a
dancing
Groot.
The jumpsuit. He had the tail. He had the eye makeup and everything. He even had like a little toy ray gun thing. I was like, your parents are the greatest parents on the planet right now.
Well, I've seen, like, I saw a picture of a little Star-Lord, like, with the Walkman and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I need a dancing Groot in the worst way. It would serve no purpose whatsoever other than just to amuse me every time I looked over and saw it. But I need a dancing Groot.
Sometimes that's the greatest purpose in the world.
Yeah, I need a dancing Groot. I put it on my desk at work, and when I start getting like tired or something, I can just be like, "Play the Jackson 5 and start dancing."
Entertain me, little Groot. Yeah, entertain me.
Awesome Mix Volume 1 has been on. In fact, I listened to it again today. Awesome Mix Volume 1 while I was working out. So
yeah, I listened. I have it on my iPod.
Yeah, I do too. Over Thanksgiving, I was helping my dad. Well, I was rearranging my dad's music library because he buys so much stuff, and he's like, "I need it organized." So while I was doing this, I was listening to Awesome Mix Volume 1 on my phone, and he's like, "Oh yeah, put that on my iPod." I'm like, "Dad, this is awesome. This is from Guardians of the Galaxy. Have you seen that movie yet?" He's like, "No." I was like, "No." And this is all music that he listened to when he was like in high school when it was brand new and everything. He's like, "Really? This music's in that movie?" I'm like, "Yeah. Why haven't you seen this movie yet?" And he's like, "Well, put that on my iPod." I was like, "Okay."
Yep. Yeah. And unfortunately, August also saw the passing of another legend, is the only way to put it. Robin Williams passed to the shock of, I think, pretty much everybody on the entire planet. And we did a review, retrospective top 10, after that, which was a tough episode to record.
It really was. And after that happened, I kind of went through and was watching. I didn't watch all of his movies, but I watched some that I hadn't seen in a while.
That was episode 11 of our podcast.
Okay. Yeah, so I watched some that were that I hadn't seen in a while or I hadn't seen ever, and I watched Aladdin and I watched Hook, and that was when I realized, oh yeah, Bob Hoskins was in this one too. I was like, dang it! So it was sort of a double whammy for me on that one.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, that was a hard one. He is still very much missed, even Yeah. I mean, when you get news of celebrities passing or people. Sometimes you're like sad for a little while, then you kind of get on with it. I still haven't gotten on with it.
Yeah, same.
So. If you happen to pick up, I think it's this a Rolling Stone. I get so many magazines. There's a magazine. It may be this week's Entertainment Weekly. It may have been last week's, or it's Rolling Stone. But one of them, they've got a section where they have a section where they're looking back at some of the celebrities of past, and the part about Robin Williams, instead of doing the usual, he was in this and he was, nominated for this and the highlights for this, which there is some of that, but the majority of that particular part of the article is actually, it's written like a script, like a TV or movie script, but it's a script of Robin doing stand up in heaven. It was written by Billy Crystal specifically for the magazine, and it is funny. It's sad at the same time, but it is funny because you can hear like Robin's voice and him, like, Robin doing the voice of I
think it was my basic camera theory class. We watched a clip of him doing the radio show from Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah. And it just, it's like, Robin doing the voice of, doing this type of voice or this type of voice, and you can just hear it in your head, and if Robin was alive, it would be just the funniest bit for somebody to film and put it up on YouTube, but just reading it, just even without it, you hear the voices in your head, and it's just, it's sad and it's poignant because he's doing stand-up to the audience, but the audience is a lot of people that have already passed, and like it's him interacting with like Johnny Carson and Richard Pryor and Jonathan Winters, and it's funny and sad all at the same time. So, but I can't remember. I just read it this week, but my magazines get piled up, so I'm not sure whether the issue I was reading was, really recent or if a couple weeks old, but I want to say it was Entertainment Weekly, but I don't know if it's the most recent issues that are out with Stephen Colbert doing the Lord of the Ring things, or Hobbit thing, or if it was last week's, or maybe Rolling Stone. So if I still have the issue, I'll find it and I'll put it in the notes, and you can try and find a copy of it, or I'm sure you can find a scan of it somewhere.
They're usually you can usually get like back issues on electronically,
yes,
on your iPad or whatever,
or the library will have them.
Yeah,
library will. Yes,
because we get Entertainment Weekly and we get Rolling Stone, we get all those. So I'm like, that's probably where I'll go try to find it.
Yeah.
And you'll just go. You look through all the recent ones, like this one. Nope, this one. Until you find it.
Yep.
Yep, that's exactly what I will do.
Yep.
Anyway.
Kind of wish I was.
I might have to check my local library.
Wish I was still back in New Mexico, because that was kind of what I did at the library. Is I was always the one in charge of putting the magazines away, so I would have known.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
So, and then further on in August, you probably saw this all over Facebook because everybody got into this,
including us.
Including us, and this one actually kind of hit close to home for me because this is my aunt had this and she passed away from it about 12 or 13 years ago. It's the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and you know the drill. People would challenge each other to it. They would either donate to the ALS Foundation or they would dump a bucket of ice water on their heads and film themselves doing it, or they did both, as I did. I actually got it done twice because my family, we all did it. Like I said, my aunt had ALS, and my dad, we filled a big backhoe bucket full of ice water, and filled up with the hose, and my dad dumped ice water on my sisters, my brother, and my mom. And then later we got him back with a big bucket, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I thought, and like you saw celebrities doing it. I know when the Once Upon a Time cast all got it on it, all of us on Tumblr were just like, oh my gosh, did you see they did it? And we're getting excited about it. And
some celebrities were more exciting to watch do it than others. Hello, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, Chris Evans was funny because he was all like, it's like you've got to wait 30 minutes for it to get really cold, otherwise it doesn't do anything.
The do it properly one.
Do it properly. And Chris Pratt,
he filled it up and made and like went away and got changed into like this tuxedo and like I like to be well dressed when I raise awareness for charities.
Yep. And they had like all these. There was like multiple buckets. It's like all his family was there, and they all dumped water on him. And his little, I guess it was his nephew, I guess, and had like a little trick or treat Halloween bucket full of water and just dumped it on him. It was really good. And I think, I mean, you see these viral things going around, and sometimes, you know, there's some that are kind of stupid or some that are just funny. I like that this one was funny, it was entertaining, and it you know, got people talking about this disease that, you know, I only knew about it because my aunt had it, but now people know what it is. I mean, there's not really anything you can do once you get it, but it kind of served as a forum for those of us who have had people or have this disease to kind of, you know, talk about it and, you know, how it affects your life and what you do, because it's awful. I mean, my aunt, like, she was one of the smartest and most accomplished people I ever knew, and just to see her kind of deteriorate, it wasn't an easy thing for our family to deal with. But I really that this. I mean, even if it only lasted a month, it's something good to come out of this. So. Anyway, and I know a lot of people are like, well, you know, you should be raising money for this disease or this disease. I'm like, you know, ALS really doesn't get that much press, and people don't really talk about it because there's not much you can do about it. But, you know, if you can get research going behind it and finding out if there is a cause or if there's a cure for it, I'm all for it. And it was fun to watch. So
yeah,
win on all counts.
We can.
Yes.
And depending on your choice of eye candy, you can thank Nathan Fillion for some of the.
Yeah, because he challenged Tom Hiddleston, didn't he?
Yes.
I believe so, and Tom was like, because he was like off filming somewhere, and he tweeted back, "It's like, I'm getting there, I'm accepting your challenge. I just gotta get it ready." And
yeah.
It was funny. And Cumberbatch got nominated several times, so he had to do it more than once.
Yes. And I loved every single time. It was a wonderful thing.
Oh, it was.
Oh, my. So, and
closing out the month.
Yes.
Fan Expo Canada, which was so much fun. It was my third time going to Fan Expo and my second time volunteering. And so our convention report was episode 13. Like, me and Christy both did convention reports on episode 13. So, but yeah, I got to meet Matt Smith, and it was so...
She's all excited.
No matter how prepared you think you are, you're not.
No, you can't.
I can tell she's still not over it.
That's not something you get over. That's something you think about when, like, you get depressed and you're just like, oh, I'm better now.
He only said, like, a few words directly to me, but those few words were like, what's this talking to me?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yep. Although I wish I had gotten to give him an autograph.
Oh, you and me both, sister.
Beforehand, I had watched a little bit of Arrow. Like, I'd gone through most, like, at least half of the first season. And then I wasn't, like, terribly, like, I didn't, like, seeing him wasn't my biggest priority at Fan Expo, so I just kind of, like, I didn't bother with, like, trying to get in his line and get his autograph. And then afterwards, I started getting caught up on Arrow. I'm like, why didn't I get his autograph when I had the chance?
Yeah.
He was right there. Right
Maybe
there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know.
Another chance.
Next year, hopefully.
Next year. Or next time he comes
Oh.
around or something.
Yeah, hopefully he'll come again. Oh, because Arrow is filmed in Canada, even though it's on like the other side of the country.
Yeah. But they'll
Yeah.
figure it out sometime.
Yeah.
Hopefully he will come back, and I will not pass up another chance. 'Cause, like before I was like just peripherally interested in Arrow, but now I'm like, the show is so good.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Well, then,
whatever.
I've been watching it, and like I'm the same with you because Stephen Amell was at Salt Lake Comic-Con this past September, and I was there, and like you said, he was same with me. He was not a priority for me, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And now that I've like really been watching Arrow, and I've been following Stephen Amell on Facebook, I'm like, I'm such an idiot.
Why?
But you live and learn, right?
But I did get Matt Smith and Arthur Darvill and David Morrissey. So
it wasn't a total loss.
It wasn't a total loss. I just wish I'd gotten Stephen Amell.
You know what?
Well.
When you go to these conventions, there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much you can afford. You want to do everything, but you have to pick and choose. And some things, you know, they just kind of don't. They don't happen.
Yeah.
They don't get done. Yeah. But
So and San Antonio is like literally it was the last big thing because it was the last weekend and it ended on the 31st.
Yep.
Yep. And then Salt Lake Comic-Con was the week after that because that was the first week of September, and I got to go because I won a 1-day pass and for the Thursday. In fact, I'm looking at my little wristband I still have sitting on my desk because I'm just like, it was a thing that happened, and I got to see Paul McGann and Colin Baker, and the Mitch, the way that you were still fluttery over Matt Smith. I'm still like I got Colin and Paul to record bumpers for us, and sometimes when you're feeling down, or when I'm feeling down and feeling just life's getting me down, I play those recordings, and I was just like, they were standing right there. They spoke into my phone, and it was just so great. And And Paul, I shook his hand twice, even though I didn't realize what I was doing, and he winked at me, and he said, in that lovely, lovely voice of his, "Till we meet again." I was just like, and I couldn't speak for 5 whole minutes, probably 10, and the only speaking I could do was to get on Twitter and just like, oh my God! And you guys, and it was so cool because you guys, one of you guys, maybe 2 or 3 of you, were also on Twitter at the same time, and you all replied. You were just like, "That good, huh?" And I was like,
Well, and then you got home and you the bumpers, and we heard them. We were like,
and it was your guys' turn to plot.
yes.
Oh, I know. I didn't realize Colin was gonna record such a long and lovely, wonderful message.
Oh, I love his bumper.
He just kept going
That sounded
on and on,
bad.
and I was just like, keep going, as long as you want, because it'll record.
Yeah.
I tested this out last night.
Yeah.
And Paul was just like, what do I say? And I was like, oh, I get to direct Paul McGann on voice direction. I mean, it was like a 5-second bumper, but holy cow, there it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, Comic-Con, love it. I can't get enough of it. And there's so much good stuff. Oh, and I got to see Carrie Ellis do his panel, and they recently, Comic-Con recently did a what is it, like a highlight video, and they were just they had it on their Facebook page, just as promotion and stuff. And there's one part of it that I was in that panel with Carrie Elwes panel where a fan came up and said, can I do the Battle of Wits scene with you, and he's doing it with this guy, and it's so cool. I think I squeaked about it back then. So
yes.
Anyway, it was episode. What did you say? Was it
13?
13.
Yeah.
13. Yep.
Yeah.
So, yay conventions.
And really, the rest of September was kind of quiet because our shows were coming back. So we spent a lot of time in front of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So we...
And now they're all leaving again.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't go away. But
like
tell me what happened.
So we did our...
Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, we covered Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Once Upon a Time. We did a season recap for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then we recapped the premiere in a different episode, and then we recapped the first 3 seasons of Once Upon a Time, which was, I still think, our longest episode to date.
It was epic. It was epic. You couldn't shut me up.
Yeah, and then
especially when you got me on Captain Hook. Holy
yeah.
cow.
And then we did our review of the Return of Once Upon a Time, which tears were shed. Actually, tears were shed for both reviews of the returns of both of those episodes for different reasons, obviously, but tears were still shed. They're sad tears for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and happy tears for Once Upon a Time.
And I think this is just a guess, because the midwinter finale of Once Upon a Time has not yet aired, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has. I'm guessing tears will be shed for both this time, but probably not. Probably not.
Well, at the moment, I still need to do a rewatch of the mid-season finale for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but at the moment, it's more my jaw is still on the floor more than anything.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still going, what? Wait, what?
What just happened?
What?
I don't. What did you do?
Yeah, that's for another episode.
That's how they get you to come back in March.
Yeah, but that's for another episode. So that was September. It was a lot of time in front of the TV going, ha ha ha, kill me with feels. And then October, unfortunately, we had another passing. Maggie Stables, who was the voice of Evelyn Smythe in Big Finish, passed. Which Evelyn's first Big Finish story, the Marion Conspiracy, was the first Big Finish I ever listened to. Because one, it's a Six Doctor story, and I'd heard such good things about Six and Evelyn as a duo. So I thought that was a good place to start with Big Finish, and that did not disappoint. But very sad to hear that she'd passed. So we won't be getting any more Evelyn in Big Finish, unfortunately. So again, always hard when we lose somebody in any fandom, but the Doctor Who family is just, like Chrissy was saying earlier, it's like you get into it and you discover these people and then they go, and it's just, it sucks is no other way to put it. There's some really good Big Finish audios out there with her and Colin Baker's doctor. So you could probably jump in anywhere, but the Marion Conspiracy was Evelyn's first story. So if you wanted a jumping point, that's a good place to start. Some people don't care for it. They think the story's kind of and it is a bit. It's not the best story. There's some better ones, but, if you want to... It's a good introduction to Evelyn as a character, yet there's a lot of exposition, and you learn a lot about Evelyn and who she is in that first story. So a good feel of the character. So if for anything else, listen to that one for that. So also in October, I went on my wonderful Disney cruise for my husband's 30th birthday, which I did a full recap of that in episode 19, so you can hear all about that if you want to go back and listen to that. But there was a lot to talk about, fun stuff to be had, and now that it's cold and gross here, I miss it even more. Right before I went on my cruise, we got the trailer for the Avengers Age of Ultron, which it dropped before it was supposed to drop. Hydra leaked it. At least that's what Marvel keeps saying. So.
And good on their marketing department for blaming it on Hydra.
Yeah.
That was A+.
Sony gets leaked and they get thrown under the bus. Marvel gets leaked and they can just blame it on Hydra. So
they're very savvy that way.
Yes, they are.
Yep.
So, and then we also got the huge Marvel movie announcement, which Brittany did the math earlier when we were trying to figure out the Marvel with Friends, that by the time the second part of the third Avengers movie comes out, there'll be 21 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe by 2019. That is a lot of movies. And I'm going to see every single one. Well, we've had 10 are already out, but another 11 in the next 4 years is just nuts when you think about it.
21 movies in I think it's 10 years, because then Iron Man came out in 2008, so
2008,
over 10 years.
Yeah, that's
pretty impressive.
Crazy, and not that I'm complaining, but it's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like we were saying earlier about how that it really got started with Iron Man, and they never really thought that it would. If Iron Man hadn't been such a big success, they never would have got to this point. And it's just crazy just how much they've been able to do, and just how consistently good they have been, and even getting better as they go along.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just keep this up, guys, because they've got the market cornered on this. And I don't know if you guys have seen the Honest trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, but at the beginning of it, if you're familiar with Honest trailers, they're they poke at all the little flaws in movies, and they make it, it's funny and stuff. And at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, they're all with all the more famous Marvel properties, the other studios, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, but then they're no, just kidding, this is a really fun movie.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they do. Is they take their lesser known properties and they make a freaking awesome movie and everybody wants to see, and it becomes the best movie of the year. So, bring on Ant-Man, bring on Doctor Strange, bring on Inhumans, all these Captain Marvel, these lesser known properties. It's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. That it is.
Yep.
And then to cap off October, I think only 2 of us actually watched it while it was on, but we had the premiere of Grace Point, which is the
first episode when it aired and the last episode when it aired, but all the middle episodes I caught online later.
Yeah, but still, I think there was only the 2 of us that actually watched it. It's the American remake, but I hate to use the word remake because it was really just repeat is
very
more
similar,
appropriate.
Like they added some stuff with Tom Miller and changed. Like in Broadchurch, it's that he's seen arguing with a postman, and in Grace Point, he's seen having a friendly conversation with a hiker.
Yeah.
So
Is that the only difference?
No,
that's not the only difference.
Some
but
of
one that's
okay.
some of the
like they add a plot line with Tom Miller going missing for like an episode.
Yeah.
And Emmett Carver's daughter shows up because, like, at one point he calls her.
Yeah.
And then in Broadchurch, that's the last of it. But in Grace Point, she actually shows up at the station, at the police station.
Oh, okay.
And like,
because I watched tried to watch the first episode of Grace Point, and I'm like, this is just like Broadchurch. I'm like, you know what, if it really is different, I'll try watching it again, because maybe just the first episode, the setup.
It's like 90% similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's like, they call it American remake. It's like, really, it's a repeat. Just some of the names have been changed of the characters, and some plot changes.
And in Grace Point, we find out that Danny went with Chloe's boyfriend to get the cocaine that they find in her room.
Oh.
And on the way, they stopped at the a gas station, I think. And Danny shoplifted a crossword book. And something else.
But okay.
Yeah.
So they add some stuff.
I never watched Broadchurch, but I knew who the killer was in Broadchurch, just because, after a while, just this stuff gets...
The spoilers come out anyway.
And
I knew who did it.
Who the killer was for Grace Point, but...
Well, that's what they said. They said that it was going to be totally different.
Yeah, they said it was going to be different, and
it changed the ending. And what they did was, Tom was actually there when it happened, sort of.
Yeah. So, I don't want to necessarily spoil anything, but at the same time, it's like, if you've seen Broadchurch, you don't really need to watch Grace Point.
You've seen Grace Point.
But,
that's why I thought it was weird that they were even remaking it, because it had been on BBC America. And I mean, I know not everybody's got BBC America or whatever, but it's on iTunes. Like, you can get it there if you really want to watch it. But then they do the remake of Grace Point, and they say, oh no, it's gonna be the same mystery, but it's gonna be different. It's gonna be a different killer and all this stuff. Like, it wasn't that. So I'm like, okay, whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah.
It was on Fox, and they like to do weird things anyway.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it, and I thought, I was like, I kept watching, and because I had heard that they had said that it was going to be different as far as the ending and the murder and all that. So I was like, I'll keep watching, because I went through a phase where I was like,
death was different.
Yeah, I went through a phase where I was obsessed with
and in
CSI and Law and Order. So the crime dramas were, I enjoy them to a point. So I was like, and it's David Tennant. It's David Tennant on my TV. So it can't be that bad. And got to the finale, and I'm like,
accent is
really?
So weird.
Yeah.
I actually have a funny story about that. A couple of days ago, I was watching something, and then I wasn't paying attention because it was on for background noise, and then a commercial came up, and I was slightly listening, like, that sounds like David Tennant, but his accent sounds wrong. And I looked up, and it was a commercial for Grace Point. I was like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's called Fun with Accents.
Weirdest thing.
Yeah. David, I love you, but don't do the American accent. Sorry.
No.
On the other hand, and this is totally off topic, but sort of not, earlier today I saw a little tiny clip of Colin O'Donoghue doing a Brooklyn accent.
Oh gosh.
For something. It's like some short. It must be like doing some kind of acting workshop. And I was watching it, and I'm just kind of like, whoa. I'm like, it's his voice, but it's not his voice. It's way different. And it's just like, okay, it's sexy no matter what, but
People doing other accents is just weird.
Yeah.
Like, there are people who can get away with doing a range of accents, but for the most part, it's like, that's just weird.
Yeah. Like, just stick to what you know. So.
Yeah.
So.
anyway,
So that was
October.
Yeah. And then
And in November, we were still glued to our TVs.
yeah.
So there was no. We were all dying of feels through all these seasons. Oh, and I was watching Sleepy Hollow. But we also got. Yeah, I know.
That's a real laugh. That was really real. Sorry.
We got trailers for Jurassic World and for Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which everybody went ape nuts over Star Wars. Over what was that, like
It's an 80-second teaser.
86. Okay, sorry. I knew it was like super short, and it was sort of like, yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars imagery here. Yeah, this was like Star Wars. Oh my gosh, it's the Millennium Falcon. We are back in business, guys.
Yeah. It's like the first, it's like voice, guy in a stormtrooper outfit, voice, droid, voice, lady on a speeder type thing, voice, guy in the snow with cool lightsaber, John Williams score, Millennium Falcon. That's what I want to hear and see.
That's what I want. Like, yes.
It's not Star Wars until you hear that da 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 da, that John Williams score that everybody knows. That
Yep.
The minute that starts playing when the movie comes out and people are in the theaters, like it's going to be like New Year's Eve in Times Square, I'm sure. And the Millennium Falcon is just like, it's iconic, is what it is. So
It really is. It's like, and
the trailer's been.
it's like I didn't really realize, like, when I was, until, like, you watch the prequels, you're like, okay, yeah, I understand this is Star Wars and everything. But it's like, it just kind of feels like there is a little something missing. And I didn't really realize that until I saw the Millennium Falcon in this trailer, and I'm like, that's what was missing.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing Han Solo. I mean, obviously, we really couldn't have had him in it, because he would have been a little kid in the time frame, but it's sort of like, yeah, it would have been, but
cute little, like
some little, roguish scoundrel in training, some little scamp off on some long, maybe he's on the Wookiee planet, and that's how he becomes friends with Chewbacca. Who knows? I don't know.
Ooh.
I am dedicated for this, but yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for new Star Wars, and
I think I'm.
And now, as much as they are kind of reviled, did we talk about this on air? Or did we talk about it?
I think we may have talked about it when we talked about the
weren't
trailer.
sure.
So
I know we talked about it. I can't remember if it was pre-show or on air. Anyway, I just hope they don't screw it up.
yeah.
Because I can't take any more fanboy complaining. Although we're probably going to get that anyway.
Well, yes. There will be
Always get
complaints.
some kind of complaining of some sort.
Yeah.
That's what fans do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yay, trailers. Oh, and Jurassic World, which I want to see because Chris Pratt's in it.
Chris Pratt
So I
on a
started-
motorcycle with raptors. That's all you need to know.
That's what you need.
Sorry.
See,
That's really why
Brittany's
I
so
started watching
excited
Parks
she's
and
choking.
Recreation. Don't choke on air, please.
Chris Pratt got her so excited she's choking.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Okay, I need to breathe.
Breathe, Brittany, breathe.
Well, I'm a fangirl. Breathing's problematic sometimes.
Yes, that's true.
You're We have to practice.
Yep.
So that was what we had in November. Sort of the meantime.
Yeah.
And then December started with quite the whiz bang. We had the Flash and Arrow crossover event, which we covered last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's, speaking of feels, and that was quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Librarians premieres, which I confess I have not yet watched because I haven't had access to it. But anyone here watching it?
Brittany
I
is.
watched it. It was on Space, and they did a repeat of the first 2 episodes Friday, which I didn't see because I was at seeing Mockingjay, but I did record them and watch them today. So, and then there's going to be, I think, a new episode on Sunday. Yes, the new episode's tomorrow. I'm not sure what. Yes, it's very, very good, and I really, really recommend it. Yes.
I want to watch it. I just have to get it somehow.
I don't know. Don't know how. Like, it's on TNT, but I know that doesn't exactly help you.
No,
But
if it was on Hulu, well, I'll have to go for a search, but I'll do that later.
yeah, it's probably it's real. The first. I'm not sure if it's still, but the first episode was free on iTunes.
Oh, really? Maybe I'll look into that.
I don't know if it's still, but it was last.
Well,
the
find out and let me know off mic.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then, speaking of, we talked about Grace Point. Well, Broadchurch is getting season 2.
Second season, January 5th. Woo!
So
and we got first we got a teaser trailer. It's like not much, just David Tennant and Olivia Colman on the cliff top near Grace Point, near Broadchurch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and it's like it's so funny because of like there's a sort of unofficial tagline that fans have come up with, which is D.I. Hardy hates this town yet continues to live in it. And the teaser trailer encapsulated that perfectly.
There you go. And it's going to be on BBC
and then we
America.
got an official trailer, which is like same town, new secrets, and there's like, wow.
This town is going to be the ultimate dysfunction.
It asked a lot. It had fans asking a lot of questions about like what's going on, who's saying what to who, and why are they saying this, and who are they saying it to, and what do they mean by this question?
Yeah.
By what they're saying, and
yeah.
So Eve Miles is going to be in season 2. Arthur Darvill, David Tennant, Olivia Colman returning. I saw someone like the returning and the new cast, but those are the ones that stand out to me.
Oh yeah.
So,
AKA the 10th Doctor, Roy Williams, and Gwen from Portsmouth.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
With special guest, the Prisoner Zero, the mom that he turned into.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I just gotta say, so I watched the first season of Broadchurch and everything, and it's this little tiny seaside town that nothing ever happens. Well, now everything's gonna happen.
Everything's happening.
It's like a soap opera.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like.
So it's like.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna make a Sherlock joke. Like John Watson at the beginning, he said, "Nothing ever happens to me to meet Sherlock." So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never seen either Broadchurch or Grace Point, so I don't know. But that's what I thought of when he said that.
You're not far off in that sense. Definitely not. And then the last thing we've got listed, unless someone else brings something up, and this has yet to happen, but it will happen by the end of next week, next Friday, as we record. The series finale of Legend of Korra is airing next Friday, December 19th. And this will also mark the end of the Avatar: The Last Airbender franchise, which Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, they put a little message out on Tumblr, just kind of in front of a poster of that fans had written messages to them, and they were like saying, this is our official last day at Nickelodeon, and thanking the fans and for this incredible journey of 12 years of being in this universe and with this franchise. I mean, it's still going to the franchise is still going to continue because they still have like graphic novels and things going on. But as far as the shows go, they're done. And they actually got a lot more than, because Legend of Korra was originally only supposed to be like a 12-episode miniseries. Well, now they've gotten 4 seasons. And for good or for better or for worse, the way Nickelodeon's treated it, it's been this is one of the best animated shows on TV ever, and it's just been a lot of fun. So, whatever they end up doing, if they come back to Avatar at some point, but for right now, I think they're going off to do different things and hopefully away from Nickelodeon, because Nickelodeon's been terrible. But Avatar and Korra have been amazing, and I continue to be impressed. It's kind of it's bittersweet, but I feel like it's this last season especially just a good exclamation point on all of it. So that's something noteworthy to mention, definitely. And if you have not watched Avatar, you're missing out. I tell everybody, it's one of the best.
I did watch Avatar when it first aired on Nick when I was a kid, and I've been meaning to watch it again, and then meaning to watch Legend of Korra. I just again didn't have time.
Yeah,
but
I don't
quick,
think.
right?
I mean, well, you don't necessarily have to watch Avatar to get Legend of Korra, because they explain stuff. It helps though, because then you're familiar with the world and how like the Avatar cycle works and the different nations and the different
and
like
returning characters, like
Zuko
and
or and how they're how like the Beifongs, like they're related to Toph, and there are some flashbacks and things in the first season just to kind of connect it, and who Tenzin is and why his little family of airbenders are so important, because they're the only ones left, and then later in season 3 the stuff happens with the spirits actually in season 2, but then like the spirit world comes into the real world, or the human world, and stuff gets thrown off, so people start manifesting airbending abilities. So the airbenders who were totally killed off except for one in the original series, now their culture and their nation can start coming back, and it's a really emotional and poignant moment in the show, and it's like, oh, it's just so good. And the last episode left me going, what the heck did you just do? Kind of like everything else I've been watching.
That's another one that I'm a little bit behind on.
Oh, okay, well, I will say no more then. Yeah. Anyway, so that was... What? Anyone got anything else they want to add to our year in review?
No, I did find something that's a little disappointing. Not really disappointing, but something I can't go to, so I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
No. If we find anything else, we'll post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the end of Peter Capaldi's first season as the Doctor was kind of big in November.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's true.
We did a review of that.
That was
be like 20-ish.
Yeah, 20.
Yep.
Episode
20.
20. The Promise of a Soldier.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was a major anniversary thing.
And that's also we got the full-length trailer for The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies was around that same time.
Yeah.
So
which
opens
I guess
next
that's
week.
another.
Yeah.
And I guess that's another one that's an end of an era. I did see an interview with Peter Jackson at the premiere of Battle of Five Armies that this is it for doing anything with Middle Earth, because Silmarillion, there's no way there's some rights issues. Well, yeah, that would be a hard movie. Yeah, well, there's some rights issues that prevent them from even trying to make a movie of that one. So it's like, yeah, this is it. This last Hobbit movie. So I think that's why, everybody kind of complains about, why'd they make it 3 movies? It's like, well, it's not necessarily that they were just doing the Hobbit. It was sort of like anything that they could have done. Like this was their last chance to do it, whether it was appendices or like elements from the Silmarillion, like just little mentions of different things, like not full on.
Yeah, the
stories,
whole thing with the with Radagast and I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
But that was
Yeah, that, I mean, it wasn't so much this was the Hobbit, it was the Hobbit plus everything else that they would have wanted to do in another movie, but couldn't. So it's like, make this one big last hurrah. And so I can understand why you'd want to do that. So so that too, that's another thing that's coming to an end after so many years. And I mean, getting the start of production on The Hobbit was such an ordeal, because they had so many things they had to go through, and then one of their studios caught fire when they were doing like pre-production and everything. Was like, was this movie ever going to get made? And here we are.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have no problem with 3 movies.
I haven't I've started watching Desolation of Smog, but I haven't finished it, so I didn't realize that they wrapped up that storyline in the second movie, and then the last movie is entirely devoted to the battle.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I'm sad about... I didn't know that
until I saw the trailer when I was out seeing Mockingjay on Friday.
Yeah. The thing I'm sad about, though, because originally when it was only 2 movies, they were going to be subtitled An Unexpected Journey and There and Back Again. And I'm kind of sad that they don't get to use There and Back Again as a subtitle. But, I mean, Battle of Five Armies makes sense, but There and Back Again would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that's the subtitle that Tolkien himself gave it. But then they got Billy Boyd back to sing the song The Last Goodbye, and, hello, I'm dead of feels, crying in the corner.
Yes.
Stop it. Yeah. But don't stop it, because I think it's amazing.
I'm excited for it, and I'm also really, really anxious, because it is the last one, and I know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to... I'm going to be crying.
It's kind of sad, because it's like, to know that the Tolkien universe
there's a scene of Tilly insisting that he should be part of the battle.
Yes. I'm like, no, you stay home.
Every time I see that, it's like, they show it every time when I had the TV on, and they show that scene, I was like, I get all teary-eyed. I was like, and he's like,
and we're talking about 60-plus-year-old spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know what, Peter Jackson, he can go on and do some other things. Now I'm trying to remember, there was a book that I read recently that someone said that he got the rights to do the movie of, and now I cannot for the life of me remember what book that was. That's going to bug me.
It's another epic fantasy, because he does those really well.
I'm sure it was, because it was something I read, and I gotta go find out what it was. Once I remember it, I'll be like, oh yeah, that was it. Oh yeah, I want that movie. I'll have to find out. Although he did say he wanted to direct an episode of Doctor Who. So
yes, that would be
awesome.
Yeah. He just wants a Dalek.
Mm-hmm.
That is all he requires.
I will give Peter Jackson my Dalek. Not that my Dalek is a very good Dalek, but it's a Dalek. I will give Peter Jackson my Dalek if that's what it takes. I can always build another one.
A show that started this year that I want to talk about. It's not on TV. It's a web series. It's Carmilla, based off this book from the 1800s, but it's been like brought into the 21st century. Like it's a web series done set at a university. It's really good. It's like 36 episodes. All the episodes are only a few minutes long.
Oh, okay.
And it's so good. Like I had a day off school recently, and I just mainlined the entire thing in a few hours. So,
like,
and we're getting the second season next year, which is awesome.
Nice. I just
it's predominantly a female cast. Like there are a few token guys, whatever, but the main characters are all female, and like there's one that's canonically genderqueer, which LaFontaine, but like who was designated female at birth, but she's genderqueer, so that's really cool. And then the main character is Laura, and she it starts with like she's doing this like as a journal, like the web series as a journalism project. So I highly recommend you go check it out. It was like so good. So and yeah.
Oh, I remember what book it was. It was it's the Temeraire series, which the first one's His Majesty's Dragon it's by Naomi Novik. This series has been optioned as a movie by Peter Jackson, and it's basically it's the Napoleonic Wars with dragons. Basically, I read the first.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I read the first book. Well, I listened to it over Thanksgiving when I was driving home, and I was like, "This sounds really good." And so I listened to the audiobook, and the first one actually won Reader's Choice at our library system a couple of years ago. And yeah, it is really like all like it's like they have like the it's like an Air Force. It's part of the military, the British military in the 1800s, and it's on dragons. So it's like all these people, all these soldiers, or what do they call them, aviators, and they all, it's sort of like if you've seen How to Train Your Dragon, they kind of have that kind of relationship. And then there are certain breeds of dragon that I mean it's mostly guys who are aviators, but then there's certain breeds of dragon that only respond to women. So the main character, Captain Lawrence, when he finds that out, it's like, because he comes from the Navy, and the Navy has his certain strictures and rules and things, and then he comes into the aviators, and there's so many different rules, and he's like, so throws him for a loop. But his relationship with his dragon Temeraire is like, oh, it's so good. And I love Temeraire. Because he's got his own personality, and he's got I was like, I want a whole book with his point of view, because he's brand new and he's learning, but he also is he's also ahead of everybody else too, and it's kind of cool. Anyway, so that was the series, that was the book series that I was thinking of, that Peter Jackson bought the movie, right, or he's optioned it for a movie. I don't know where it is at all in the production queue, but anyway, there's one to talk about. And also, I forgot about this until just now for some reason. Remembered Outlander this year was made into a Starz TV series, which I quite enjoy, because I like the book and I like the show. So that's all I can say about that, because we're running long.
Yeah.
This might be one of all the longest ones.
Well, we covered a whole year of stuff.
Yeah.
True.
An
Some of
year.
it was a little easy because we could just say, "Go listen to this episode."
Yeah.
When we talked about it.
Yeah.
Anyway. So even though we were only on the air for 6 months out of the year, I think it's a pretty decent year.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of cool stuff happened. And next year we'll get to do some other cool things, I'm sure. What?
Yes.
I just remember another a show that came out this year that's pretty good. Forever came out, which I think is a really good show so far.
It is. We one of our episodes we talked about something. We talked about our
the other shows that we watch.
Yeah, the other show. I think it was 18. I think.
Whatever episode it was after we talked about Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, I think it was, because 17 was where we talked about the premiere of Once Upon a Time, so 18, where we talked about some of the other TV shows that
wasn't it like
were
we were
on.
talking about the Doctor Who, we were talking about the Doctor Who episodes that were aired since then, and then we started talking about this other shows.
No, I think we just mostly talked about...
This week we recapped the first half of season 8 of Doctor Who. We also discussed some of our other favorite shows that have premiered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
The
share any new show discoveries.
Yeah. The tangents start to blend together after a while.
Yeah, they do. From week to week, we kind of forget, what did we talk about and
Which
when?
is why it's good. It's a good thing we've got these Google documents so we can keep track of all the stuff.
Yes. This will be key in when we become like famous podcasters and we write our memoirs. and now you know I'm being tongue in cheek. And this is when we start to get silly.
Yeah. Well, it is quite late. Later for some of us.
Yes. Hey, we warned you at the beginning. This may be a doozy, so if you're still around, props to you. It takes time to cover an entire year.
It does indeed. I don't know how the regular news people do it because we just want to talk about it all the time. Anyway, we'll probably start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Find all our stuff at the 5ishfangirls.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Facebook at the 5ish Fangirls. You can also follow us on Twitter at 5ish Fangirls. Tumblr, same thing. And YouTube will be there as well.
Yeah.
So leave us feedback at 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. We will gladly read it out. Support us on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
And listen to us. Well, you're listening to us now.
Yeah.
So we'll have more and more as the year goes on.
Coming soon to iTunes.
Coming soon to iTunes.
Yeah.
Couple months. Month or two.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We'll let you know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We will. So I think with that, we're going to sign off. It's been another epic episode of the 5ish Fangirls podcast.
Indeed.
This is Brittany in Fort Pierce saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
Mitch saying goodnight from Kitchener, Ontario.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis. Good night, everyone.
have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by their respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.